Blackwater skulle ha. Blackwater skulle ha. Then who the f*** is Ming Yi? Good time zone. Good evening and warm greetings to wherever you are in the world. This is Amelia, aka Spaced Out Puffin, and we are reading, still, TGCF. And you might ask, what is going on? What is all this? And then I will tell you. February is a month of celebrations around here. First off, my Discord server has been open for a whole year, so we are celebrating the first anniversary of that. And also, I started Season 2 of Heaven Official's Blessing, the Donghua, a year ago, which is when I met our dearest Rainmaster. And we've been through a lot together, such as playing the fence attorney for our mutual, His Highness the Crown Prince, during the whole function arc, the most self-destructive defendant to have ever not defended himself. We've been kindred spirits ever since. And so I was challenged to throw a banquet in honor of our friendship. Which is great, truly. But little did I know that there was a challenge within this challenge. A challenge-ception, if you will. Much like a lot of the characters in this series who are characters within characters. Characterceptions, if you will. Yeah, more on that in a bit. But the thing is that hosting Shurting Xuan usually also means hosting Ming Yi, our dear Earthmaster. So Eclipse over at my server did win our bet, the grand prize of the challenge, and got to challenge me to do something. And they challenged me to make a menu for this banquet I'm throwing to feed Ming Yi. And of course, as I am humble and chill and enjoy not putting too much effort into things, this pre-discussion is now a mukbang, where I have brought out some Ming Yi vibes of the more feminine kind, tried to pay homage to the Donghua only ? Boob window. I can't recall it being mentioned in the actual text. And I'm just saying it was totally his idea. Ming Yi strikes me as the kind of guy who will be like, well, if I'm gonna be a woman, I'm gonna be the most womanly woman who have ever womaned. And he kind of succeeded, I gotta admit. He looked good. I do not have enough boob to fill this window. Ming Yi, did you seriously have to go that hard? That big? So anyway, I will be here eating and drinking my way through this little menu I put together, filled with some local delicacies and things I grew up with, a little cultural exchange, right? All the while talking shit about, I don't know, Showwoodo, I guess. As well as every other character who has annoyed me recently, which, as of the last read, are a lot of characters. A lot. Including Ming Yi. Or should I say, Ha ha ha. Yeah, no proof of that just yet, but hold on, we're getting somewhere here. But before I'm gonna start talking, let me bring out my first dish. Bringing out the fine textiles, the puffin dish towel turned tablecloth. Alright, so for the appetizer, we are bringing out bread rolls. I know, it does not look like much, but this is a banquet, this is a celebration, and these kinds of bread rolls, usually not with the stuff already on them, but with the bread rolls on the side and then like a whole table full of stuff that you can put on it, is usually how we do celebrations. Like, you will see these tables full of cheeses, meats, eggs, other things that you can put on your bread rolls. Anywhere from birthday parties to wedding banquets to just anywhere, really. So I thought I'd show that off, and also, like, if I were to throw a banquet, that is most likely the kind of food you would be getting, at least to start with. As for what I put on my bread rolls today, I decided to go with some smoked salmon, very, very classic Norwegian. We love our smoked foods, and salmon is a huge export as well as something we eat locally, so some smoked salmon. I put it on some cream cheese, which I usually do not do. The alternative would be scrambled eggs. And the cucumber... I get the impression that we Norwegians just like to put cucumbers on top of things. Maybe it's a Scandinavian thing. And this second bread roll has a white cheese, which is very, very standard, but what is not so standard is the berry jam that you can see on top of this. This jam is made out of cloudberries, and I would not be surprised if you've never heard of this. So my grandmother usually goes out every year to pick liters and liters of this, and she has been gracious enough to give me some, and honestly guys, this is gold. And I know some places down south, apparently they serve this with like a strong alcohol that you could drink in the morning for a kick, but I'm not really into that and I don't carry it. So I got myself some ginger juice for the same kick, I suppose. And that is my first course of the evening. Make sure to let me know if this is something you think MING would eat. Well, I'm about to make him eat it anyway. Cheers, or as we say over here, skål. I'm gonna be completely honest, I'm not that big of a fan of smoked salmon. Like, I will eat it if it's served to me, but I don't usually go picking it up off the table, and I certainly would not cry if it was not present at any banquet. Like, this is fine, I'll probably use the rest of the pack for a pasta though. So, Schrödinger can apparently be hunted by the Reverend of Empty Words, because he was never supposed to have ascended. And that's the tea. And apparently now Schrödinger is mortal presenting, no spiritual energy. But that makes me ask the question, why now? Why only recently? Why did the Reverend only start to go after Schrödinger very recently? Like, there's always a chance that the Reverend did not even know about any of this. I don't even know what their capability for thought is. But yeah, maybe they only learned about this recently. And then once they knew, they started hunting for Schrödinger again and, you know, went after him. However, then there's the dramatics. Like the whole thing with showing Schrödinger the town of Fugu, the fire social, wanting him to see, wanting him to understand. Like, be for real. Why would the Reverend want that? I mean, upon learning the truth, Schrödinger, being the pagan of justice that he is, would, you know, feel great despair upon learning about this, which would make for a great meal, I suppose. But who would also maybe want that? Scholar He. Though I have to say, if the whole Scholar He MING equals true is actually what is happening, this whole situation is diabolical, honestly. But it keeps adding up, so oops. See, what we do know is that someone contacted Schrödinger immediately after he stopped talking in the communication array between him, HuaLian, HuaChang, and MING. So whoever contacted him were sure that he was not currently talking to someone else in an array. And also that person had to know his password. So, yeah, the case is not looking good. MING, on all accounts. It was also MING who suggested that he and HuaLian split up for an hour to look for Schrödinger. Not suspicious at all. Especially when Schrödinger then suddenly appears when we can't see MING and what he's up to anymore. But after all of this, it still seems like MING is helping. So why? Why is he helping now? Why is he helping Schrödinger escape the confines of the palace? Well, because of Schwudu. Schwudu, who doesn't leave heaven a lot, as we learn, but who will if his brother is in danger. And when he does, he will likely bring along some help from his very good friends who keep appearing, because he's very tight with his pals. They are, after all, the Three Tumors. And I wonder what their role in this story is going to be going forward. That's so good. I don't have cloudberries very often, but every time is just a joy. I was eating this by the spoonful before I started filming. Actually, it's so good. So, backtracking a little, the three tumors, judging by their reaction to, finding Qing Xuan and for coming with Voodoo at all, they seem to kind of know a little bit about what has happened. They might know about the Reverend and that whole story, I think. Or at least, something. But Voodoo is deliberately, as it seems to me, hiding from them the fact that Qing Xuan doesn't have spiritual energy right now. So I have to wonder, do they know everything? Do they know what Voodoo, apparently, according to the last read, has done? The whole switching of fates thing. And if they were to learn, how would they react? Like, would it just be a case of, oh, that's your skeleton, I have mine? Let's parade our closeted skeletons together. Or would they think that this is something unforgivable? So, Qing Xuan is immortal now, apparently. Voodoo doesn't want him to be. So, is the Reverend done with him? Like, is it satisfied with having done all this, literally throwing a god from heaven? What bigger despair, what bigger unlock is there to be had? Or will it not be satisfied until Qing Xuan is dead in the ground? In which case, I think Qing Xuan is on the right track. I think that Qing Xuan's escape from all this could be to pull a HuaLian. As in, remember HuaLian's story about how he dealt with the Reverend of Empty Words. By being completely, apathetic to its curses. I think that with Qing Xuan's current mindset, they might actually pull that off. Starve out even the Reverend of Empty Words. But if a revenge plot against Voodoo rears its ugly head, so to speak, would Qing Xuan be able to run away, or would they want to stay? Would he stay back to protect his elder brother? Well, only Voodoo's third heavenly tribulation will tell. Which means it is time for the main course of the evening and of all of TGCF. HuaLian, of course. Da, 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 da. It turned out looking pretty good, actually, and I brought out the fine china, as you can see, a Moomin-themed pasta plate. It's a grand meal. Right, so let me tell you what you're seeing here. This is a smoked reindeer salad. Yeah, we really like to smoke our meats, and reindeer is one of the local delicacies that is just honestly a must try if you ever have the chance. This is obviously not a traditional way of eating it, but it is an increasingly popular way, and one that I prefer. So I have some leafy greens with the smoked reindeer, as well as some root vegetables, such as parsnips, carrots, and also beets. A little bit of onion, they've all just been cooked through, and then put on top of the salad with a little bit of homemade garlic dressing. And the red you see throughout it is Arctic cranberry sauce. It's not quite cranberry sauce. They're Arctic cranberries, lingonberries if you're more familiar. A little tart, a little sweet, and they go so well with most meats. And I also have some bread rolls with some feta cheese cream to just I don't know, they usually serve it like that, so I decided I'm gonna do it as well. To drink, I was gonna serve MING, this bottle of wine. I thought it was fitting. But alas, I seem to have misplaced my bottle opener somewhere, and I can't remember where, which honestly just tells you that, yeah, I don't really drink that much wine to begin with. So, a beer it is. And I don't have wine glasses, nor beer glasses, so we are drinking this out of a cocktail glass, because we're gonna be really fancy. Just so that we can pretend that it is something more fancy. Anyway, skål! I'm super excited to have a taste of this, so let's do it. Trying to get a little bit of everything here. It is seriously just a flavor explosion. Definitely my favorite way to have reindeer. And who knows, it could be MING's as well. Let me know in the comments. And while we go through the main course, let us also go through HuaLian, because a lot is happening with HuaLian as well. So, while we're still looking for Qing Xuan, Huachang leaves. something is happening, he's gotta go, even after all of that. Like, he's just been scared shitless because HuaLian was apparently in immediate danger there for a second, you know? But he still decides that, okay, it's fine to go now. Like, there's something happening, there's nothing for it. But because he is really, really sweet, actually, he does send his ride to pick up Gaga. And his ride is really, really silly. I absolutely love it. And like, it is totally a diss regarding the chariot that Sherwood arrived in, the gilded, burnished chariot or whatever. And you know, as a reader, I especially enjoy watching HuaLian interact with ghosts. Outsiders, really. But also outsiders who have a certain perspective of Huachang that is not just fear, or at least fear in combination with absolute awe, reverence even. And also, every time we go to like Ghost City or any Ghost City adjacent area, I feel like the world just expands. And it gains a different kind of color, a different kind of flavor. As I said when I was reading last time, truly a little bit of Alice in Wonderland vibes, maybe a little bit of Ghibli sort of universe in there. But it's like its own thing. Also, benevolent HuaLian. Because as he is being brought, you know, to see Huachang again, they come across this roadblock with these ghosts who are apparently, you know, the most wretched kind of ghosts because they eat other ghosts, so rude. And the golden skeleton people who are carrying the step litter are pretty much threatening the whole blockade with like, yeah, you're gonna pay for this. Like, even after they have kind of given up because they realize that this is Huachang's ride. But HuaLian is like, no, it's okay, let's just go on, let's just leave. And it just really has me wondering about his role once, you know, at the end of all things, if Ghost City still exists at the end of all of this. What kind of role would HuaLian have as Huachang's partner? What kind of influence, what kind of status? But that is for me to wonder about. But let's get back on track, because in addition to these little ghosts who eat other ghosts, there are like a lot of lady ghosts who kind of watch this whole scene. And I realized that maybe I had a little bit of a misunderstanding about what they were saying. Because they are speculating about HuaLian's identity. Like, they have no idea who he is because, well, if it was a woman, they would have guessed that it would have been Huachang's wife, but because it's a man, they're like, who is this person? So my misunderstanding, there was no woman involved ever, or any indication that Huachang had a wife, except for Huachang's own little lies to the Puchi village people. But you know, he's dreaming really big. Keep dreaming, really. It might just come true, Huachang. And right after that scene with the female ghosts, we go straight into an interlude, and then the scene that we've been talking about. Like, if you've been in my comment section or in my Discord server, this is literally the only thing we're talking about. Like, hold on, I might need to clear the table for this. Because, holy shit. So, interlude happens, and then Huachang reappears, and this scene is just shockingly soft. Like, you have sleepy HuaLian, sleepy, gentle HuaLian waking up because he's fallen asleep in this carriage thing, step litter. And then you have gentle, opportunist Sanlang who's like, mind if I squeeze in? And it's just like, yeah, then he proceeds to hold HuaLian for like the better part of this conversation. And this is just such a very HuaLian conversation. They are smiling, they are laughing, you know, just generally bantering, joking around. And then HuaLian asks, by the way, Sanlang, what was it you wanted to tell me before? Their eyes met inadvertently. Huachang still hadn't let go of HuaLian's right shoulder, as if he was holding him in an embrace. Looking from the outside, two overlapping silhouettes could be seen through the steplitter's veils, curled together into one inseparable whole. Inside those red curtains, Huachang smiled. Gaga, want to get married? And yeah, that isn't all of this, because this just keeps going. I have, however, digested the scene a little further since the last time you saw me. And now I want to make it very, very clear that my frustration on my first read-through is not actually at Sanlang's backtracking, which follows the whole want to get married. I was and still am kind of sort of frustrated with this happening at all. Like, we were having such a nice scene, we were making progress, and then they dropped this on us. It was a whole mess, but I have since encountered a lot of different interpretations of this scene, and I've enjoyed a lot of them. We've had banter in the server, I've seen fan arts, and it's been great. It's been great all around. However, I would like to invite you to challenge these interpretations, some of which I know have fandom widespread and renown. Some of them might even be your interpretations. And I want to do this by taking a closer look again at the source text. Because when I read this the second time, I noticed a couple of things. And look, I am aware that there are also notes that were published alongside this writing when it was published as a web novel. And those notes, for all I know, might have informed some of the intent here, some of the thoughts, some of the behind the scenes that we don't actually see in the whole scene as it is presented in the text. But if we ignore all that, if we ignore the meta of the author interacting with the readers while this was being published, and maybe even divulging some information that we just don't have when reading the book as is, barring all that, let's focus on the text itself first and foremost, and then go back in with the interpretations. Because, yeah, I'm gonna read this scene again, and I'm gonna challenge you to notice something. You ready? So about one page, starting from Gaga want to get married, ellipse reply. HuaLian was struck dumb. Huh? Such an intent gaze, such words, they were in such close quarters with nowhere to run. Colors exploded in HuaLian's vision, and his mind went completely blank. His entire body was frozen, stiffer than a corpse. Seeing his reaction, Hua-Chang withdrew his arm and let out a snicker. It's a joke. Did I shock Gaga? Ellipse reply. HuaLian only snapped out of it with concerted effort. You're too much. How can you joke about something like that? It wasn't just shock. He was so rattled by that question that his heart had almost stopped. And though he did not quite understand why, he also felt a trace of hurt. My bad, Hua-Chang laughed. He stretched out his long legs and crossed them, settling them at the front of the step-litter and wiggling his feet. The silver chains on his boots clinked against each other, jingling crisply. Playful indeed. Before tonight, HuaLian would have thought his boyish heart was fun, adorable even. But now, for some reason, the jingling noise disrupted his calm, and an unexplained frustration filled his mind. He was dismayed for a good while and couldn't help but say it again in his mind. How can you joke about something like that? However, when he thought about it, there wasn't anything wrong with Hua-Chang saying what he'd said. It was because it didn't mean anything that he could joke about it. Hua-Chang noticed his odd expression and promptly sat up straight. Your Highness, please don't take it to heart. I was in the wrong just now. I won't joke about it ever again. Seeing him apologize so solemnly, HuaLian felt guilty. Am I stupid? It was only a joke, nothing serious. Besides, Sanlang only said, want to get married. He didn't specify to whom, so where did my mind wander off to? Get a hold of yourself this instant, right now. He mentally slapped himself a few times and steadied his spirit before he smiled. No, how were you in the wrong? Don't misunderstand, I was just thinking about Lord Windmaster, so I looked a bit serious. Did you notice? Let's discuss. So, first of all, HuaLian's perspective and his feelings are in focus here. Though that is not really news, huh? Sanlang remains joking and playful for the majority of this exchange. Remorse only happens after Sanlang sees HuaLian's, quote, odd expression, unquote. That's when he delivers a solemn apology, which HuaLian recognizes, and then does a little bit of mental gymnastics before they switch the topic. This is interesting to me because when I reread this part, the most direct interpretation is that HuaLian doesn't actually think he has crossed the line before after this final part, when he sits up and apologizes. In fact, thinking back to both the Pucci village interactions they've had before and also the ghost city thing in season 2, and then everything that's happened after, HuaLian could very well have thought HuaLian's first response to his joking around was expected and normal even, to their relationship as is and how it's been progressing. Though of course, he doesn't know and has no way of knowing that something deep down inside of HuaLian has decided that he can be gay now and have romantic interests in his strong, dependable ghost king friends. Tee-hee. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because a lot of the fan interpretations that I've encountered, that people have been showing me, seems to interpret the shock, as in HuaLian's shock to all of this, and his backtracking to have happened even earlier. Now, these interpretations aren't unreasonable, because we do not actually have HuaLian's point of view here. Like, for all we know, and it's certainly amusing to imagine, he has been mentally panicking ever since that first slip of a marriage proposal, or even earlier. There is a lot of room here to make all sorts of interpretations, really. Like, maybe the first backtracking was really when he pulled away and said, "Tee-hee, just kidding, did I shock Gaga?" But while I do love these headcanons also giving us a glimpse into what HuaLian might have been thinking and doing at that time, aka a glimpse of HuaLian, cool and suave HuaLian being a fumbling fool in love. Because that's... I love that. But I just truly do not think he realized the mood was changing before HuaLian stopped responding to him at all. Which is the unusual part, really. And then he saw that odd expression. My interpretation of this scene, based on this, is that HuaLian wasn't afraid of being rejected for his proposal because he thought he was playing within the confines of their social contract. This was obviously a joke, and HuaLian was going to laugh it up and be like, "What are you even saying, you silly goose?" But once he realized he pushed too far, he was afraid to be rejected from that social contract, from what they have going. And again, I'm not saying that any other interpretation in this scenario is wrong. I simply wanted to point out that the text is really thin regarding what HuaLian was actually thinking and feeling here. And I know some reasoning is probably going to be that, well, maybe he was really good at hiding how he was really feeling in that moment. And yes, sure, that might be it. HuaLian might have been masking his panic really well behind that smile. However, I find that HuaLian is very expressive as I've been reading. So I personally don't really vibe with that explanation either, because I feel like he is perfectly capable of showing his emotions on his face. In fact, he wears his fucking heart on his sleeve, and HuaLian just hasn't learned to read that writing yet, because he's terrible at it. Though in that regard, I have to admit that I might also be colored a little bit by the Donghua interpretation, where we get to see his face and his facial expressions a lot more than has been mentioned in Volume 1, for instance. Still, anyway, no matter the intent, this joke has consequences which can be felt a couple of pages later. Here on page 96, HuaLian is asking, "I've been wanting to ask," HuaLian said, "if Gaga doesn't feel secure living here, why not move somewhere else?" HuaLian shook his head. "That's easy for you to say, Sanlang. Where would I move?" HuaLian smiled. "Why not move in with me?" HuaLian knew that those words couldn't be as nonchalant as they sounded, but that joke the other night had somehow traumatized him, and he no longer dared respond to anything HuaLian said using that joking tone. He'd only acknowledged him with a brief smile and a tilt of his head. It's so painful, isn't it? Basically, HuaLian knows that HuaLian's offer right there is very likely not a joke. However, he can't really be sure anymore. And then in the same chapter, a little bit later, HuaLian is relieved when he learns that there is no wife, and unhappy to learn that HuaChang is pining for someone. Simultaneously, and this is probably where I can be most liberal with my interpretations of HuaChang and of his actions. Because like, can we at least admit that he's doing the equivalent of a friend-zoned high schooler telling their crush, I have someone I like, staring deeply into their eyes. The plot twist being, there is no zone. The zone is fluid, and honestly, with a little bit of patience, and maybe some calligraphy lessons with, you know, some fun outcomes, HuaChang is free to write boy in front of friend once he learns how to do those words legibly. Because, and here's the third thing about HuaLian that's happened over the last read-through, HuaChang is letting himself accept more gestures of kindness from HuaLian. But HuaLian's own behavior is also slowly changing. Like, he might not even be realizing how absolutely weird he is acting around HuaChang, like the whole clenching and clutching his hands around that cloth while waiting to hear the truth about the wife. And also, he's so gay panicked over HuaChang's half-naked self that he tries protecting his modesty, like he's some sort of maiden. Like, I am seeing the outlines of the possessiveness tag coming into view, and surprisingly, it is not HuaChang who is the perpetrator. It's HuaLian. In the same scene, Shi Qingxuan misunderstands, understands actually what is really going on here, though HuaLian hasn't really understood it themselves. In the server, we've taken to calling it Schrödinger's flirting, and that's exactly what they're doing. Are they flirting? Are they not flirting? We're gonna have to open this box to tell. And then, my absolute favorite HuaLian thing, page 124. HuaChang was dressed by then. I already knew you wouldn't just sit back and watch. After a pause, he smiled. But why is Gaga apologizing to me? You remember what I said a few days ago, but did you forget what I told you before that? HuaLian was slightly taken aback and wondered, what? He then recalled what HuaChang had told him that night at the Green Ghost's lair. Just focus on doing what you want to do. HuaLian blinked. He didn't know what to say. He only knew that he suddenly really wanted to do something for HuaChang. But at that moment, there really wasn't anything he could do. He was stuck in place until he noticed an issue with HuaChang's collar. And then he just... Okay, just this feeling he has of just wanting to do something for HuaChang. They want to do things for one another. It has me so soft. And it feels kind of wrong to be crying about HuaLian while dressed up as MING. So a short break, let me go finish up my food, and then I'm gonna come back with some dessert. And we can talk about some other fun things that I observed in my last read-along. Okay, so for dessert, I got super lazy with plating. I just got a cup, and I'm eating ice cream out of a cup, topped with these cloudberries that are so nice and so juicy. Yeah, now that I have cloudberries, I'll just be eating this for the rest of the week. This is so good. Dangerous, actually. I hope MING has a sweet tooth too. So yes, dessert and other fun little things. We are in the land of the Rainmaster, which means that I am super excited for a reintroduction of their character. Hopefully we can uncover some more secrets and actually meet them face to face, unless we have already met them face to face. You know, all these characters who are being characters this whole series. But also we are here because we want to avoid the Heavenly Officials right now. And the one who was pursuing us was Pei Ming. And he has some sort of beef going on with the Rainmaster, which makes him not wanting to, you know, be around here. So my microphone's kind of in the way. You can see the Rainmaster back there and the thread to Pei Ming. Yeah, just they have beef, trust. And furthermore, the Lord who poured wine. We discovered that that is indeed Qing, and now we only have 2 people to go for the 4 famous tales. Eden showed up as an ally, and he's always had very good vibes in the chats and in the comments, so I have a positive outlook for his future. I feel like he's gonna be a steady ally. I left my favorite for last. Mooching and function. Left the Grand Avenue of Divine Might crumbling like a cookie. And the reason is the fetus spirit. And yes, I have spent the whole of last week wondering if the stick up Mooching's ass has gone far enough up there that he is technically no longer considered a virgin. Whatever those qualifications are. My conclusion is no. I will in fact be very surprised if Mooching is the father of the fetus spirit. Like, he has an inferiority complex that just wouldn't let him. He is cultivating the same way as HuaLian, and he's gonna beat HuaLian at cultivating this way for sure. And at the way things are going, yes, Mooching. Yes, Mooching, you are going to beat HuaLian. But I still think he might know something here. Like, how long Chong likely is that Chandler woman? But that still doesn't explain why he is protecting her. Though it does have me wonder if Mooching doesn't know who the father is, since he was so opposed to having the fetus spirit dealt with. Like to absolutely everyone else. This must be very confusing, and I am absolutely loving it. And so concludes the banquet of corkboards and wins and corkboards. With a lot of exciting things happening and a lot more exciting things ahead, I hope. But before we can figure out more about what that might be, I have a challenge. And this week's challenge is presented to me by Lara, my wonderful, wonderful Lara, who's a mod at this channel and also a deputy over at my server. And Lara, from what I recall, actually got this idea from Ninchin, who's also in my server, so let's see what they've cooked up. So at Puffin, as per usual, feel free to open this on camera. Given you have now met quite a few of the rather unpleasant, at least unpleasant to HuaLian characters, how about you give us a ranking of your top 3 antagonists/villains so far? Who will win the big bad evil guy trophy? Full credit to this question goes to Nin. My gut reaction to this question is actually that this is really unfair to me. Because there are a lot of characters who seem like they might turn out to be antagonists, but I don't actually know that yet, even though I have my suspicions, and I feel like this is a really hard list to make if I have to consider all that, because without these antagonistic sort of characters coming in, the only confirmed antagonists we have are Xuanji from the first arc. I suppose the Banyu soldiers were kind of our antagonists. Pei Shuo was kind of our antagonist, but it's a conflict. It's a really different sort of situation. And then, Bai Wuxiang, but we still don't know a lot about Bai Wuxiang. Except that he's really creepy, and he had a great entry into the story. The fetus spirit, would that even count as an antagonist? I feel like it's being, used. It's such an unfortunate one. The Reverend of Empty Words, I guess. Qirong. I can list up a bunch of characters, but they're all very complicated characters. And because every character has been so complicated in this series, some of them even have antagonistic actions, even if they are not right out antagonists, like Mooching, for instance. And even having named all these characters, let's be real, let's face it. I can't yet say if I can put MING on this list, and I can't yet say if I can put Junwoo on this list. Blackwater? Who knows? We still haven't even gone there. And it feels so unfair, because I feel like they could be really interesting and really fun antagonists or villains, depending on how it all plays out. At this point in time, the only real antagonist that I have any sort of feelings about is by Wuxiang, who is like throning the list by far. And everyone else feels more fillery to me. Like even Xuanji doesn't reach this list. I feel like putting them on this list would be a disservice, really. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. The only villain antagonist that I've really identified and really vibe with is the Big Bad by Wuxiang. Everyone else feels like nothing compared to that, of the confirmed antagonists. Now, if you just tell me a little bit more about Ming Yi and maybe Junwoo, then we can talk. I'm sorry, this was such a lackluster sort of answer to that question, but I had such a lackluster reaction to reading it as well. I just feel like I have to be honest with you guys. I don't feel like I'm ready to answer that question, and I don't feel excited to answer that question at this point in time. And honestly, Bai Wuxiang is a no-brainer at this point. I feel like the answer wasn't even very exciting. Though maybe my thoughts about all of this has been enlightening in some way or another. Alright, I only have one more thing on my list for tonight, and that is mentions. And here it is, our coffee board for the time being. Let's expand it just a little bit. And first up is an addition to the corkboard. Welcome to Nur. No idea how to say that, but we've been talking over at the server. I'm so happy to have you here with us, and your name is going up on the board. Excited to give this heart over to Ezzy. Thank you so much for coming back to donate to me once again. And this red heart is for the wonderful Ouija. Thank you so much for coming back once again. I have another heart coming up for the lovely Amelie. This one over here for Muley. And the last red heart is going up for Mystery. But it is not the end. I have this cherry blossom that is going out for Kea, smack in the middle over here. And the wonderful Elida has deserved a Temple Guardian who will be going up by their name tag. And lastly, this flower is going out for Gabby. Thank you so much for supporting me over here at the Temple of Corkboards. And as per usual, I really hope you guys will love this video when it comes out, and that you understand how much your support means to me. And that was the end of the things that I had planned to do tonight. And so when I wake up tomorrow as myself and with a little bit less Ming Yi all around me, I can jump straight into this, and I'm so excited for that. So thank you so much for joining me for this banquet. I hope you had a blast, that you learned something new, and of course that you are as excited as I am to dive into the next chapter of Heaven Official's Blessing, which will be in a few hours, or for you guys, a couple of seconds. Let's go. Good morning, or good time zone yet again. I've just rolled out of bed and had a breakfast, and now I'm ready to read. After spending, all last night and all morning just thinking about what is going to happen, but also just, the villains of TGCF, that question just got stuck with me for the rest of the night. And I really hope that you don't think I answered that question unfairly, because I have big expectations of what is to come. I suppose the new question is gonna be, will someone ever topple Bai Wuxiang, who is still, they are our villain, but their whole character is still very, very mysterious, both in terms of origin and intent. So I'm super excited to see where this is gonna go. And of course to discover whether or not Blackwater is also going to be some sort of antagonistic character, or is going to be on our side. Like, in a pretty sort of meta sense, I do know that Blackwater is a character that some of my friends enjoy. Like, they've made sure not to tell me anything, but I do know that Blackwater actually ranks on a couple of people's top character lists. So I've got to figure out why, right? And the fact that he hasn't been introduced to the plot proper just yet makes me really excited. The same can be said for Rainmaster, because I actually do know that Rainmaster is a favorite character of a couple of my friends as well. Though so far in the story, they definitely seem like someone who is on our side, even if not directly so. They do make things easier though. So yeah, well, I've been tormenting my whole night and my dreams with TGCF. I've also stumbled upon a package on my way to bed last night. So I said I was going to go straight into reading, but I do want to open this package because it is one of the packages that has taken the longest time to get to me. In fact, Dark informed me that she sent a package to me in November, December. And for some reason, it was stuck in Chicago for days, weeks, a month maybe. And it only arrived here, was it in January? I think it was late January. And so it's a highly anticipated arrival, and I thought, hey, you know what? We should definitely open this up now. If I don't, it's gonna be stuck in the backlog for another few weeks, and honestly, this package has waited long enough. So thank you so much, Doc, for taking the time, the effort, and you know, the mental damage of watching the package sit in transit for weeks. It is very appreciated, and I can't wait to see what you decided to send me. Oh, this is so funny to me. The first thing I saw was this puffin. This is so funny. So this is the TY brand of plushies, and if you've been around like touristy places around the world, you've probably seen this brand because they make these little animals, and a lot of museums end up getting them. A lot of shops end up getting them. We even sold some at my museum, usually in the shape of reindeer and polar bears. We don't even have polar bears, but here's a puffin one which we never sold. So this is my first time seeing the puffin. It is so cute. So thank you, Doc, for sending me my little mascot, my little me. I will have to find a good spot for her in my living room. So usually I go for the letter first, but the puffin really jumped out at me. Oh, you look so silly. So that said, this doesn't look like an Atlantic puffin. I wonder if it's a different breed. Huh. Yeah, turns out this might be a horned puffin, and they are usually found in Alaska and Russia, so on the other side of the world from where I am. So I guess this is not me after all, but a long-lost cousin from around the world. A real sea parrot. Okay, so there's a bunch of stuff in my lap. I'm gonna pull out a letter first and foremost though, which says don't open till after chapter 42. Well, guess what, Doc? We're about to start chapter 60, so this can't stop me anymore. I guess this might not be a letter then. Maybe it's something TGCF-ish, something spoilery, or would have been. Now let's open you up. Well, it's a Christmas-looking card, and we've got a fox on the front, but it's not a Sundong fox. It can be if we want to, though. So let's open this up, and it says Merry Christmas, Puffin. Let's pretend it's still December, hey? Let's pretend, Doc. It is a letter to me, it is a letter, and I think that the reason why Dark said not to open it is because Dark drew me a drawing. It is of HuaLian, and it has all the lanterns. It has to be the lanterns, right? Chapter 42 was the lantern chapter, right? That explains a lot. Well, I am happy that I got past that chapter so that I can read the message you wrote for me. So here we go. Merry Christmas, Puffin. Hello, I've been collecting some things throughout the year, and I thought it would be a nice small Christmas present. It's a late one, but you know what? All the more appreciated. Thank you so much, Doc. I'm sorry this still isn't the gift I've been making for you, because Dark has been making a gift for me. I can't recall the details or if she even told me anything. I just know she's making something. And that could be Dark, you'll have to remind me if you told me anything about this, because I know that Dark makes a lot of things. Dark is an amazing cosplayer. So I've seen her sew, I've seen her like do a lot of different costumes, and I know that she also collects and even makes dolls, or like customizes them. And as you can see, Dark also draws, so it can be anything. I have no idea what she might be making. You might have told me a little bit though. Remind me if you've given me any hints, because it seems I might have forgotten. I promise I'm still working on it. It's alright, Dark. I am so slow with all the things that I've been wanting to make as well. So I'm the last person who will call you out on this. Good things take time. Anyways, I found you a couple of cute hair accessories that reminded me of HuaLian that I thought were really pretty. And the little butterfly clip is part of a set of 6. Okay, I'll have to have a look at everything that is in here. Maybe I should have gone through the stuff before reading the card. You know what? Let's go through the stuff and then let's read through the card. Because this here is definitely the butterfly clip, right? Tee. Oh, this is pretty though. The flower clip is so cute. I do like the sort of metallic and golden details. And then we have the butterfly clip, which is a part of a set. I'll have to read what Doc said about it, but let's look at the other stuff. There's like cloth Oh, it's a ribbon. It's like a hairpin ribbon. Oh, with one of those clips that kind of go out. Oh. I'll figure it out. I don't want to break it on screen. I never wear clips like these, but I will learn for this one. This is so cute. Who knows, maybe it will go well with one of these closet cosplays one day. It's very, very pretty. Oh, maybe I can get HuaLian to wear it. Where is HuaLian? I'll find him later. He might be busy. And then I've got butterfly sticky notes. Are you for real? Are you for real? 3D butterflies, sticky notes, and page markers. Ooh, so they're like regular flat sticky notes, but you're supposed to take them off and bend them. Yeah, the glue is in the middle of them. That is so cool. If you know, you know. Anyway, these are adorable and so on theme. I'll have to figure out where to use them, but they are so cute. Thank you so much for the stationaries. If you're ever in doubt, give a girl some stationery. Oh, there's more fabric over here. And this is full of maple leaves. Ah, it's like a hair tie. 2 hair ties with maple leaves on them. So these hair accessories are so HuaLian themed. I guess I could put them on the mini dolls. They're so cute. So this one for Sandang and this one for Huachang somehow. I'll find them and I'll give them to them. They're super cute. I got very excited when I saw this. It's Tony's, a chocolate brand, which I know is working against exploitation. I've been given this brand before, and also the chocolate is really, really good. So this goes in the snack stash, which I will be needing for the weeks ahead. Thank you for fueling me, Dark. And lastly, this little baggie. And the first thing I saw was a Barnes & Noble's Heaven Official's Blessing card. Wait, is this an actual gift card? Wait, what do you mean? Like, is it seriously? It didn't come with anything except the thing on the back. Maybe the card will explain it to me, but it's if this is a Barnes & Noble's gift card with Heaven Official's Blessing on it, that's amazing. You're going into Barnes & Noble's to get your Donmay books and you're like, yeah, I'll be paying with the Donmay card. This is fantastic. What a way to live. I love this. And I got a Wisconsin stickers. This is so cute. I have actually been to Wisconsin for a few hours when I was visiting friends around the Chicago area. And I know they are famous for cheese, and then you have like America's dairy land, so that sounds about right. I have no idea what the letters for this license plate are supposed to mean though. You're gonna have to let me know. Is it the name of a place? Either way, super excited about these stickers. Enough said. Very representative. There's also a card from Lake Mills in Wisconsin, which is just so pretty. I'd love to go there in the summer to see things like this. I know it's very grey in the winter, maybe even white, and I have enough of that. And this here is a bracelet, a wishing bracelet. It says, we all take different paths in life, but no matter where we go, we take a little of each other everywhere. Tie this bracelet on your wrist and make a wish. When the bracelet breaks in two, legend says your wish may come true. Oh, I've heard about these. This is cute. I've never had one for myself though. This is so cute. I'm gonna think of a good wish to put on this bracelet. But oh my god. Oh my HuaLian, this is such a cute little package to receive though. I love that you've collected all these tiny things that are, you know, in a way representative of pieces of your life that you've decided to send to me and share with me. So it really is a little like the little bracelet message over here. We take a little of each other everywhere. Now let's finish reading the cards so I can read about the things that I've just been unpacking. Okay, so we read about the butterfly clip, which is part of 6, split between several of us in the group. Oh, that's so fun! I tend to use them as decoration. There is also a Barnes & Noble gift card. It is a gift card, oh my lord. Which I realize you most likely won't be able to use, but it is TGCF themed. And I couldn't resist. That's such a cute idea though, just to give me the fucking gift card. Honestly, these $5 were worth it. It's so cute. I wish I could refill it like a credit card. I do also just need to explain the Puffin Beanie Baby. That is from my mom. Is that what you call them? Beanie Babies? That's a cute name. They are a big thing for her. When I was little, she had a stroke and had to relearn how to walk again. Beanie Babies were a really big thing at the time and gave her the motivation to get out of the house and start walking again. She was cleaning her Beanie Babies and came across this puffin and asked me to pass it on to you. Oh my god, that's so precious. Thank you so much, Dark, and thank you so much to Dark's mother. Love from Dark. Oh my god. Well, the Beanie Baby was the first thing that jumped out at me. And these are still big around the world, probably not in the same sense as way back when. But now that I know that, it has like a whole new feel to it. Dark's mom, thank you guys so much for sharing a little bit of your history with me and letting me keep that with me forever. Oh well, until the next person who really needs this Beanie Baby comes along. But for now, he is staying with me in my possession along with your story. Thank you so much for sharing it with me. And so let me clean up this little packaging mess and put these things aside, and then let's get ready to get some reading done. Okay. A little bit of a break later to get a cardigan. It was getting kind of cold in here. It's negative 19 degrees Celsius outside, so it was only a matter of time. I will have to light the fireplace later. But guys, who have time for fires when we have a book to get through? Gosh, this has been burning at me for this whole week. Because at the very end of the last read, we learned that HuaLian's current theory is that Qing changed fates with Scholar He. Or rather, his brother orchestrated whatever was needed in order to make that happen. And Qing did not know until very recently. And that is why Qing now is refusing to go back to the heavens and be a heavenly official. The shock of realizing that everything Qing has worked for, everything they believed in, has been a lie, is what is causing this change of personality, so to speak. And now we're saying all of this in the room with us is MING. And we're in the Rainmaster's territory, and there's a lot of stuff that can happen right now. So I am super excited to start the next chapter and figure out where we're headed. And it's only 11 in the morning, late morning. Let's see how far we get before my head explodes. So get ready. We are reading chapter 60. Gods appointing gods is beneath ghosts devouring ghosts. Oh. I don't know who is of this opinion, but what we're saying here is that what Sherwood has done, choosing who will become a god, is below, like even those ghosts that HuaLian met on his little journey in Huachang Steplitzer, the ghosts eating other ghosts. It's lower even than that. So right, let's dive into it. My theory is that Scholar He has the given name Xuan, HuaLian continued. Oh my, wait, and that his birth details are exactly the same as my lord's. Fuck, something just clicked for me that I think should have clicked before I started this chapter, and I'm so mad that it didn't click. In the last read, holy shit. To rescue Qing from the Reverend of Empty Words, after Sherwood ascended, he secretly found a mortal who matched the requirements of birth and name. Birth and name. And I literally... Are you... Xuan. Blackwater Demon Xuan, oh my fucking god. Are you... Wait, no. I saw my house of cards just kind of come crashing down. I missed out on this one detail, which makes it just abundantly clear. Like, this must be it. Oh my lord. What just happened? Qing Xuan, Blackwater Demon Xuan, they use the same characters. Blackwater is Scholar He. Blackwater is Scholar He. Then who the fuck is Ming Yi? Wait, I need confirmation for this before I can start plotting. Let me read a little bit more than 2 sentences. Oh my lord. My theory is that Scholar He has the given name Xuan, HuaLian continued, and that his birth details are exactly the same as my lord's. It was no easy task to deceive the heavens and commit such fraud, and furthermore, not just any target would do, there were certain requirements that needed to be met. From the 3 questions the Reverend of Empty Words had asked when it encountered the young searching Xuan in the woods, it was clear that it knew 2 things. First, that its prey's name contained the word Xuan, and second, its prey's birth details. However, it couldn't recognize its prey's face and had needed searching Xuan to approach for it to see. The Reverend probably knew nothing besides those 2 facts, thanks to the Shi family's speedy response to the original incident. In order for someone to take Shi Qingxuan's place and take on his misfortunes, 2 things had to be true. The target had to be male and share the same birth details, the same year, same month, same day, same time, and their name had to contain the word Xuan. How difficult it must have been to find a scapegoat. The world is vast, but even if Shi would have searched every corner of it, he might not have found a single individual who satisfied the conditions to the letter. Using the power and influence of his great watermaster status, he cast the net wide and eventually actually landed a perfect catch. Furthermore, it was one who possessed the potential to ascend, and who was about to go through his first heavenly tribulation. How could he let this chance slip the line? This was a convenient shortcut to arduous cultivation. If he let him go, he might not find another opportunity ever again. So, again, we're theorizing, but this is probably what happened, right? Someone who was about to go through his first heavenly tribulation. So, what you're saying here is that Scholar He's story, if that is indeed exactly what happened, was the heavenly tribulation he was about to face when he went crazy and killed everyone? Or was their fates switched even earlier? Because from the story of Scholar He, it seems like his whole life was filled with a lot of unluckiness, right? Misfortune. But Shi Qingxuan only ascended on the night of Hanlu, the night of the story of the fire social. So did they only exchange fates during that day, or was it earlier? We can't really tell at this point. At this point, Ming Yi's increasingly dark expression, oh my... Why is your expression dark? Why? It was supposed to be Ming Yi. All the hints are still like, this is Ming Yi, but it's not. It's gotta be Blackwater, right? Blackwater Demon Xuan. Ming Yi's increasingly dark expression indicated that he had arrived at the same conclusion. Though Shi Qingxuan nodded at first, something seemed to have struck him, and he looked to where Huachang stood leaning against the door. This wasn't something that should be discussed before a ghost, after all. However, Huachang only chuckled and crossed his arms. No need to look at me, Lord Windmaster. I'm not the one you should worry about. I have nothing to do with this whole business. Why don't you concern yourself with whether anyone else in the upper court has caught wind of your brother's dirty little secret? You really do have spies in the heavens, Ming Yi accused darkly. What do you mean? Are you not? Didn't you already know that? Huachang replied lazily. Real? Weren't you the spy? Come on. I didn't know what they were doing. Are they playing around with like, I know and you know, but they don't know? Is that what's happening here? Or is this really like, Huachang's spy really is not Ming Yi to begin with? Gosh, this is so frustrating to me. So is Ming Yi really a red herring all along? It doesn't feel like that. It really doesn't feel like that. What is going on here? I am missing something. I feel like I've missed something. Lord Earthmaster was originally sent to Ghost City to investigate that very topic, but he came back empty-handed after over a decade of undercover work. It seemed the spy was planted deep and their identity was never uncovered. HuaLian said this business had nothing to do with him, so naturally HuaLian believed him and didn't think any more of it. Well, but HuaLian had also mentioned that Qing should instead worry about others in the upper court, which reminded HuaLian of something else. Oh, okay. So who could know? I mean, Ling Wen and Pei Ming, I don't think that they know about the god switcherooing thing at this point. So they might be in danger of figuring it out, though, being as close as they are with Shou Wudu. But who else could it be? Anyway, HuaLian is reminded of something else. Lord Windmaster, why did you open the door and disrupt the protection array that night at the Terrace of Cascading Wine? Did someone call out to you? Who was it? Yeah, Qing replied. It was the Reverend of Empty Words, it said. HuaLian crossed his hands into his sleeves. How did it know your verbal password? Ellipse reply with Ming Yi made an annoyed face. Oh my god, it's so... Again, there are too many pieces pointing to Ming Yi. But if he's not Scholar He, is he somehow connected to Blackwater? Like, he's reacting darkly, but that could just be, a god finding out that all this nefarious business has been happening up in heaven, and, he's apparently very good at being a god as well. But why is, Let's read on and see if we can figure this out. I feel like I just need to read on for a bit and then come out with some thoughts, because right now I feel like a lot of my foundational work, all my foundations have been kind of ripped up a little bit. So let's see where the bricks land, shall we? Ming Yi made an annoyed face. Isn't it because he's always prancing around trying to make friends? He yaps non-stop whether others are free or not. He talks too much. Qing was aggrieved. Mingshong, you can't say it like that. Everyone who chats with me is an upper court official. I've never given anything personal to that creature. If the Reverend of Empty Words could so easily uncover Lord Watermaster's secret after returning from its long dormancy, then getting Lord Windmaster's verbal password wouldn't have been difficult either if the Reverend was working with an upper court official. Like Ming Yi, so HuaLian said. Someone must have leaked your verbal password. It's worth investigating, whether it was intentional or not. So, did you see what it looked like? What did it do after calling you out? Ming Yi asked. Ellipse reply. Qing's head seemed to start throbbing. I don't know what it looks like. It cast a spell. I couldn't see clearly. This vague answer didn't elaborate on what he did see. Ming Yi's tone was becoming sullener by the minute. HuaLian considered the possibility that it had emulated some gory scene from the Bloody Fire Social, which was certainly difficult to describe. A moment later, Qing sighed. I'm the useless one. If I could have ascended on my own, none of this would have happened. Qing's original fate was probably quite good by mortal standards. Otherwise, the Reverend of Empty Words wouldn't have set its sights on him. Even so, ascension still might have been a long way away. Those who could ascend were protected by spiritual auras, and inhumane creatures had a hard time doing anything to them. And what nefarious creature would risk messing with a future heavenly official? A person's ability to ascend didn't depend on how smart they were. Intelligence and effort might not matter at all, and all the rare treasures and devices in the world certainly wouldn't increase one's chances. Sometimes it was just that vexing. 10 years of study couldn't compare to natural wit and talent, and a century of bloody struggle couldn't compare to a moment's enlightenment. If it wasn't written in fate, then it wasn't written in fate. The Watermaster could invest all the power and treasure he wanted in his younger brother, but without a fate to match, Qing would remain in the middle court as nothing more than the bellwether of the lower-ranked officials. It had only been possible for him to reach such a glorious position because his older brother robbed another of what was originally theirs and secured it for him instead. If he had even a shred of conscience or pride, it wasn't hard to imagine how he must feel after having learned the truth, which is what we have been talking about. If that exchange of fates had never happened, the man who should have ascended would surely be supremely glorious today. Having thought this far, something struck HuaLian. No, he said. Lord Windmaster, the one who called to you wasn't the Reverend of Empty Words. Okay. Sheng raised his bowed head. Huh? The voice definitely was. I couldn't have mistaken it. No. While that was its voice, it doesn't mean it was the same body, HuaLian said. Everyone, do you remember? Each of the Reverend of Empty Words' targets died by way of suicide, except for one. After a pause, he continued. How did Scholar He die? How was it portrayed at the Bloody Fire Social? Was it suicide? Sheng's eyes grew wide. It wasn't suicide, it was... Exhaustion, MING answered. That's right, HuaLian exclaimed. Even though he was hounded by misfortune, never once did Scholar He think of killing himself. Think about it. He had abnormally strong determination, HuaLian continued somberly. He was ground down by so much unfairness, so much injustice. A typical person would have given up or ended everything. Yet he always fought back, he never yielded. Perhaps once the Reverend of Empty Words found him, it never managed to suck out what it wanted, fear. The cause of his death wasn't suicide due to fear and despair. When the Reverend of Empty Words clung to him, it didn't bite down on sweet fruit, but rather an iron plate. In the end, it broke its teeth and lost thoroughly. Sheng shook his head as he listened. He sighed in earnest. I really am nothing compared to that man. Oh my God. He died filled with murderous intent and resentment, HuaLian pointed out. I don't think a soul hammered into shape by such means would easily rest in peace. Instead, he'd thirst for revenge, as I said. He turned into a ghost. He is Blackwater sinking ships. Come on. Blackwater Demon Xuan. So, Lord Windmaster, I believe the current Reverend of Empty Words is quite possibly not the same one that hunted you from birth. Instead, it's Scholar He himself, or rather, He Xuan, who stubbornly fought till the end, then bit back at the Reverend. Oh. There is no Reverend. The Reverend no longer exists because Scholar He Xuan, who is Blackwater sinking ships. Blackwater, He Xuan, who defeated the Reverend of Empty Words and is now... Oh my fucking God. Sheng and MING were both left stupefied by this claim. Ghosts devouring ghosts, Huachang added coolly. Oh my God. Ghosts devouring ghosts! That's a mechanism! That wasn't just... That is so funny. We literally learned about this in like just a couple of chapters ago with the ghosts that HuaLian met. It is actually a mechanism. It wasn't just petty little ghosts eating other petty little ghosts. It is a mechanism that has some actual weight in this story. Oh my God. So Scholar He Xuan, died with a lot of resentment, became a ghost, and took the Reverend with him, devoured the Reverend. What does that mean? Does that give him, like, the power of the Reverend? But doesn't that also mean that he didn't really have to do this, or did he have to? Does it mean, like, if he also devours the Reverend, he kind of inherits its sort of reason for going on? I don't know. We're going to have to read more and learn more about this mechanism. Ghosts devouring ghosts. Okay. When humans devour humans, they fill their stomachs at most. When ghosts devour ghosts, with the right method, the devourer can absorb the devoured's powers for their own use. Okay, so it really is a consume and gain the powers. Got it. This could also explain why the Reverend of Empty Words knew so many of the details of this whole affair, HuaLian said. A monster like that should be simple-minded and strange in its logic. And also should probably not act entirely like a Reverend of Empty Words anymore, right? It shouldn't be so intelligent, exactly. However, the one that's currently pursuing you two is a... He wanted to say hybrid, but that didn't feel accurate. Enhanced entity, HuaLian offered. Right, HuaLian said. After Scholar He devoured the Reverend of Empty Words, his consciousness took complete control. Right now, he is not only intelligent, but he is also able to curse, and he bears endless resentment toward you and your brother. This explained why it didn't send a death curse directly through Shi Qingxuan's private spiritual communication array, despite knowing his bubble password. Instead, it tightened the snare gradually. It forced Shi Qingxuan to plug his own ears, shut his own eyes, and lock himself in an empty room. Like a cat that caught a mouse, it wouldn't kill him quickly. It would play and play until the mouse died of its own terror. Moments later, MING said, "Now that it's come to this, what will you do?" Everyone looked at Shi Qingxuan, whose hair was a frightful mess from his unconscious head scratching. "Well, don't look at me," he responded amusedly. I don't know what to do either. I just don't know how to look at my brother right now. They were brothers by blood, after all, and Shi Wudu had committed this heinous crime and harmed the life of another for Shi Qingxuan's sake. It was understandable that he didn't know what to do. "But I must beg everyone here to keep it a secret. Don't say anything yet, just for now. Only for now," Shi Qingxuan pleaded. "Give me time to think properly about what is to be done. Even though I've been thinking for days now and still came up empty. Anyway, let me cool my head first." Toward the end, he was rambling and his eyes were unfocused. Shi Wudu kept claiming that Shi Qingxuan needed to be treated for his illness, but what illness was there to treat? It was simply that he had fallen from divine grace and had transformed back into a mortal. That illness could only be cured if his fate was changed again and he ascended once more. It'd be difficult to find another qualified candidate, but who knew what other evil spells Shi Wudu would come up with? No wonder Shi Qingxuan was so desperate to flee and kept ranting about becoming mortal and abandoning his godhood. Gosh, we really are painting Shi Wudu very, very black with this. And I actually, yes, what he's doing is downright really bad. But I love this brand of villainy. It's like he has very good and justified reasons in his universe, in his little world, in his circle. This seems like things that must be done in order to protect the last of my family, the brother I care for so deeply. And then he's turned to these really wicked acts, and it's I love this kind of stuff. This is Shi Wudu definitely going up on that list as it is now. This is so interesting. I love this sort of duality. It makes this whole situation seem extra tense and extra wicked when it's presented like this. I love this. Noticing still that there is no direct mention of black water in this context. But come on, ghost, resentment, Shuen, it's gotta be. Come on, we're just waiting for the last shoe to drop, honestly. I'll be very disappointed now if that's not it, come on. As for that error-filled scroll about the Reverend of Empty Words, yes, no doubt it was made to mislead Shi Qingxuan and ensure he didn't discover the truth, which is exactly what I thought, which is what my conclusion was in the end, and I feel so happy about this. Oh my gosh. While its author could have been either Shi Wudu or Ling Wen, Shi Wudu would have needed help from the Palace of Ling Wen at the start to cast the net for a qualifying candidate. Did Ling Wen really know nothing of this? If a single heavenly official had ascended this way, could there perhaps be a second or a third or even more who ascended using the same method? Very good question. Heaven is getting grayer by the minute, oh no. If that were the case, it would be horrifying. The world would be turned upside down. This incident had to be treated with the utmost gravity. Everyone in the little cottage was filled with gloom and doom, as if a great enemy was about to descend upon them. Everyone except HuaLian, of course, who had no horse in this race and was visibly enjoying himself. I do love this for HuaLian. He's like, yeah, heaven's always been kind of fucked up. I've been new. This is nothing new. I love seeing them squirm. This is he's just here for the tea. Just then, there was a sudden commotion outside the cottage. Oxen loud furiously, and farmers started shouting. Stop! Stop! Such murderous intent! What do you want? HuaLian moved to the door and peeked through the crack. It's General Pei. He really came! He really came! Pei Ming had just taken a beating from Schrödinger, yet he still appeared to be in one piece. There was a leaning stone slab that marked the land's boundary, and Pei Ming seemed rather wary of it, not daring to enter rashly. He remained standing at the boundary marker, sword in hand. The farmers gripped their pickaxes and sickles, and their faces were written with unwelcoming expressions. The black ox in the paddy blew a few heavy breaths from its nostrils, then suddenly stood on its hind legs. An instant later, it transformed into a large, strapping man. He was rather handsome and wore a small iron nose ring. Yeah, the same guy from 800 years ago, oh gosh. Which begs the question, is this the Rainmaster? Or is the Rainmaster someone else? Well, I'll be. Is that General Pei? The ox laughed. What a rare guest. What winds blew my lord over today? Let me say this first. We've got nothing to do with your little Pei situation. HuaLian looked thoughtful. He'd already had a vague suspicion when he saw the black ox out in the paddock. Oh, wait. Banyu is here, right? Qing left Banyu with Rainmaster. So of course, maybe the ox would be like, yeah, this is we don't have nothing to do with the little Pei thing. That makes sense that he would think that's why General Pei is here. He'd already had a vague suspicion when he saw the black ox out in the paddies. After all, this was Mount Yulong, the home of the Rainmaster, and this very ox Shong had lent HuaLian the Rainmaster hat to create rain long ago. Centuries had passed, and yet the ox was impressive as always. He still plowed the fields diligently and with great strength. Qing squeezed over to the crack in the door and explained the sight to HuaLian. The ox is from the Rainmaster's household. He's a good guy. Okay, because now we have Qing saying it, which is, we already knew that information kind of, but we've been a bit suspicious. But if Qing is saying that this is from the Rainmaster's household, I am less inclined to believe that the ox himself is the Rainmaster. Once again, circling back to Rainmaster was hurt, was recovering from wounds, couldn't speak apparently. Like again, princess who slit her throat, nagging there at the back of my mind. And I feel like I need to be more bold with my claims now, since I almost let the... Yeah, I should have guessed the Lord who poured wine way earlier, so I feel like I need to be more bold in my claims now. Rainmaster, famous for tales, maybe? Pei Ming had once suffered a loss at the hands of the Rainmaster, so for the time being, he was maintaining a perfectly polite mien. Neither haughty nor humble. Please, no need to flatter me. Pei didn't come to seek the ruler of Yushi. May I ask if Lord Windmaster has stopped by your esteemed country? And that was the end of chapter 60, and oh my lord, what just happened? What an information bomb of a chapter, guys. Like, it was super short. We're talking like 8 pages, and still, what a bomb of information. So we are currently over in Mount Yulong with the Rainmaster's ox, and now Pei Ming has arrived. And we have learned of a conspiracy that could very well mean that a big part of heaven could currently be filled with officials who are not supposed to be there. And it's a bit like they're just speculating for now. This could have already happened, like a lot of officials might have used this method that Sherwood used, but we do not know. We do not know if Qing is the only one or if there are more. And that is kind of exciting because it's leading us towards the grace of heaven, you know. The theme of heaven is not all good has been there since day one, honestly. In the sense of heaven has always been sort of an antagonistic force towards HuaLian, in the sense of him being the main character, having been cast out of heaven a couple of times. And also the way that all the heavenly officials treat him as lesser. So, what is going to happen next. I think the most interesting thing that we've learned is definitely about the HuaLian thing. Scholar HuaLian. Hey, you know what? I noticed that Scholar HuaLian, the Schwen is right below that. I'm just gonna leave that for now. I'll make him a proper note once we know more about where to put him in the story, because currently we're suddenly like, we're playing around in this area. And there still hasn't been a confirmation on whether or not Scholar HuaLian is Blackwater. However, he's gotta be. At this point, I'd be super disappointed if it wasn't, because thematically that would also make sense. Like, why would you be Blackwater sinking ships? I think it's literally to spite Sherwood. The water god, well, I'm gonna be the water ghost. I'm gonna let you know that I am your adversary, just by title alone. And now I'm super looking forward to meeting him. But in which case, if HuaLian, if Scholar who devoured the Reverend of Empty Words and stole its powers, is the one who's been leading Qing around, is MING somehow connected to Scholar Because again, there are so many similarities between MING and Scholar So, are they family? Are they like, did they know each other in the in life? I really wonder if MING, if he really is involved in the nefarious shit, and I feel like he is. Like, there have been too many hints towards him actually being involved for there to be nothing to this. If he really is involved in all of this, is he working with HuaLian? Is he working with Blackwater because they know each other? They both seem like they are pretty scholarly people, but as for why they started working together, why they were doing these things, like, I was wondering if maybe they met while they were still alive. Maybe they, I don't know, took the same sort of exams, the ones that HuaLian didn't get to finish or, you know, pass because everything was stacked against him. Like, could it really be that MING in life was close with HuaLian? Or did he meet him somewhere else later on? You know, while he was undercover in Ghost City. And I am now realizing that, yes, the person HuaLian was talking about who has met the Reverend of Empty Words, it's gotta be Blackwater then. Blackwater, who is HuaLian, who is Scholar met the Reverend of Empty Words, devoured the Reverend of Empty Words. It makes so much sense. So HuaLian knows Blackwater, might even have met up with Blackwater while MING was working undercover, and that is part of the beef. MING has somehow met Blackwater while undercover in Ghost City, and something happened that made him indebted to him, or maybe they struck a deal for some reason. I really do not know. Like, what could MING possibly want for? He is doing really well as a god, and he has good connections through Qing. Well, now that connection is kind of it's not going so well. But what else could MING possibly want? He's doing super well in his god thing. Why would he want anything? I really don't understand. So those are my two theories, but I think I'm leaning a little bit more towards MING has met Blackwater while he was undercover in Ghost City, and something there sparked their cooperation. Or maybe he was forced to give up some of the information that Blackwater is using. Like, this could be a roundabout thing of MING is actually trying to protect Qing because he was forced to give up information, and he knows that Blackwater, or at least something nefarious, is looking to harm Qing, and he's here trying to make sure that it doesn't happen, but everything he's doing is just it's snowballing, and it's getting worse. So that could actually be like something like MING is trying to help and accidentally makes everything worse because he already fucked up way back when. And that could be like some of the things he's done. Maybe that was a betrayal towards Shi Qingxuan, and now he's trying to make up for it. And that really could be why a lot of people are a bit about Ming Yi. There are a lot of possibilities here, I realize. If I reread everything right now, I think I might have picked up on things that I didn't pick up on before, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go back and look at this sort of information. I'm just going to go on. I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to see where the pieces fall. Oh my gosh, this is super exciting, actually. I really feel like we're getting somewhere. This is so fun. This is great. And the next chapter is really short as well. Let's just jump into it and start chapter 61. Past the heavenly tribulation, waves surge in the East Sea. Waves surge in the East Sea, we're going to the sea. Heavenly tribulation, is it Sherwood part 3? Alright, let's do this. I didn't offer any flattery, the ox said. We're busy planting the fields, nobody saw anyone. If that's the case, Ming Yi took a step forward. The farmers raised their pickaxes at once and began to shout at him. Trampled! He trampled it! Pei Ming frowned. Trampled what? You trampled the crops that they so painstakingly planted, the ox stated. You'd best apologize. Pei Ming looked down. Aren't these just weeds, if I'm not mistaken? He asked patiently. Oh, they really have it in for Pei. HuaLian could tell the people of Yushi country were giving Pei Ming a hard time on purpose, but he too couldn't help but wonder whether those were crops or weeds. Pei Ming was the esteemed martial god of the north. Why would he apologize to a bunch of farmers for such a nonsensical reason? He ignored them and took a few steps over the boundary, then raised his voice to call toward the cottage. Qingxuan, come out! Your brother is going through his heavenly tribulation right now, and things aren't looking good. Something bad is going to happen. Oh my god, something bad is going to happen. Well, we've been you. And we have art of Pei Ming and the big ox guy. And this boundary stone, which has the character for rain. I actually do know this one for some reason. And their faces are really comical. This is so fun. Ellipse a reply. Shi Qingxuan had decided to hide in the cottage, as he knew Pei Ming wouldn't dare break in. However, the moment he heard this, he rushed outside. Yeah. What? Pei Ming gave the ox a look, then said to Shi Qingxuan, I knew you'd come running here. Shi Qingxuan was dumbstruck but snapped out of it and leapt back. You can't fool me. How could it have come so fast? It's too sudden. I thought it'd have at least another few months. But at the heavenly capital, the Watermaster had indeed departed in a hurry, like he had left to take care of something critical. Shi Qingxuan immediately brought 2 fingers to his temple. That was the hand seal for connecting to the spiritual communication array, but you can't do that, Shi Qingxuan, and he belatedly remembered he had lost his powers. There was no time to be depressed, so he frantically grabbed onto HuaLian. Your Highness, help me ask, is it true? HuaLian and Ming Yi both entered the spiritual communication array. Sure enough, inside the array, it was as utterly confused as a pot of stew and full of upset. Many of the heavenly officials were watching a display projecting the action taking place in the East Sea and mumbling to themselves. My heavens, this battle stance! As expected of the water tyrant, but will he pass successfully? The stronger the powers of a heavenly official, and the more heavenly tribulation they had passed, the more perilous their next trials would be. Sherwood reigned over the waters, dominated the path of wealth, and this was his 3rd tribulation. It was easy to imagine how things would proceed from here. Okay, but water out, like it seems they're talking about battle, they're talking about water. Am I getting my water battle? Let's go! And now that we know that her Xuan / very likely Blackwater is very upset with Sherwood, this makes sense. His 3rd tribulation is Blackwater somehow. Or, Blackwater is going to involve himself. It's true, HuaLian confirmed. The ox was still blocking the path, and Pei Ming couldn't force himself through. He called out from afar. You're not a child anymore. Who would lie to you about something like this? Passing a heavenly tribulation isn't like planning a dinner where you can pick a date and change into new robes. It comes as it wills, and without warning. He's currently above the East Sea and the waters are surging. No one can enter and no one can escape. He was battling the waves when someone reported that you ran away, so how can he possibly focus on passing his trial? Then why don't you tell him I'm in Yushi country? Shi Qingxuan responded. HuaLian listened to the direct relay of the situation in the communication array. It's of no use. A frenzied spiritual field has been released over the entire area where Lord Watermaster is undergoing the trial. He's probably in turmoil right now. No one can reach him. Shi Qingxuan charged toward Pei Ming. Take me to him! Pei Ming extended his hand. Come! However, Ming Yi raced over and blocked Shi Qingxuan's way, his expression dark. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. Mingsheng, what is it? Shi Qingxuan asked. Ming Yi remained silent, his brows locked into a furrow. Which he would, he would be against this if he knew this was going to be dangerous and if he really does care for Shi Qingxuan after all. HuaLian could only guess what he was probably thinking, why he felt that he had to stop Shi Qingxuan. Was helping Showuru pass his heavenly tribulation really the right thing to do? If the fate changing had occurred, the Watermaster must receive an equally grave punishment. Was it really appropriate to help him climb to a new level of power before investigating the matter? Okay. I was thinking something slightly different. I suppose this is one way to look at this as well. But I have to point out the plot inconvenience here. Someone was able to tell Showuru about Shi Qingxuan disappearing just before communication was no longer possible. Yeah, that's a plot inconvenience that is used to force us to go to Showuru. Let's see, where was I? I had to respond to a message, so I kind of fell out of this a little bit. But yes, you have Ming Yi stopping Shi Qingxuan, and HuaLian is interpreting this as Ming Yi thinking that Showuru should receive punishment, and that might very well be true. But the way I see it, if Ming Yi has been involved with He Xuan, Scholar He, then maybe this is literally a don't go get involved. What happens is going to happen, but you don't have to be harmed further. That is a very generous interpretation, though, I'm gonna say. And also, like I said, plot inconvenience. A frenzied spiritual field has been released over the entire area. Who's released this shield? Could that have been Blackwater if he's involved in this? Or, is it a natural thing? It doesn't seem like it would be a natural thing. We'll just have to wait and see. I don't know much about these heavenly tribulations yet. This is the first one we're actually witnessing. The others have kind of just been told in the passing. HuaLian could guess such a thing because he was pondering the very same question as of was it really appropriate to help him climb to a new level of power before investigating the matter. Shi Qingxuan hesitated for a moment, but he eventually exhaled a long breath. Mingsheng, I thank you, but no matter what, I'm still worried, so let's just focus on passing this trial first. He rushed to Pei Ming's side and turned his head to call to the rest. Thank you, Your Highness. Thank you, Lord Rainmaster. Thank you, Ox. Thanks, everyone. I'll repay this one day. They hurried away. Ming Yi stayed where he was for a moment before following after them. HuaLian watched their retreating backs, but he didn't move. Hua Chang leisurely stepped out of the cottage. Gaga's not going. After some thought, HuaLian shook his head. This matter is beyond me. I can't help, he said slowly. Let's see how they resolve this themselves first. Shi Qingxuan was the central figure of this mess, but he still couldn't figure out what he should do and was troubled by his own indecision. Yeah, his affection for his brother versus the injustice that he is now facing. Although HuaLian could understand why Showuru did what he did, he still didn't agree with the method. The ideal resolution would be for Showuru to admit to his crimes and turn himself in to receive punishment. Ming Yi probably hoped for the same thing, which was why he had stopped Shi Qingxuan. However, considering the Watermaster's imperious, arrogant personality, this scenario was most likely impossible. After sitting in such a high position for so many years, no one would willingly step down. If this were anyone else, HuaLian would probably report the affair to the Heavenly Court straight away, but he keenly remembered the Rainmaster's warm-hearted friendship, and HuaLian couldn't turn his back on Qing when his older brother was facing such a dire situation. He couldn't kick a person when they were already down, couldn't disregard past affections. The only thing he could do was sit back and see how they would take care of this themselves. However, if their chosen course of action was untoward... Having thought to that point, he turned to HuaLian. "Sanlang, your advice from before was probably right," he said in a self-depreciating tone. "Gosh, what a mess this is." HuaLian smiled and was about to speak, but HuaLian's expression changed at the sound of Ling Wen's distressed voice within the spiritual communication array. Okay. What? Hundreds of fishermen's boats got dragged in. Did this have to happen right now? HuaLian was aghast. Fishermen? Dragged in where? The East Sea? He responded anxiously. If the communication array had been as confusing as a pot of stew earlier, the stew had now just toppled onto the ground and fed the dogs. What a metaphor. That was fun. Ling Wen didn't even have time to respond to him anymore, though her voice remained considerably collected. "Excuse me, which martial guard is on duty? Hold pay?" Pei Ming responded in the communication array. "Don't worry, I have Qing with me, and we're rushing over. Lord Earthmaster is here too. First figure out how many people got pulled into the storm so we can bring them all back. We'll try not to lose a single one." Okay, so we have, well, first of all these people on this trip. Are we gonna go? Oh my god. HuaLian is gonna want to go to help the fishermen. Oh no. Well done. So much for letting them solve this themselves. "Thanks for your trouble," Ling Wen said. "Since Lord Watermaster has explosively released the spiritual field, forbidding others to enter the perimeter of his trial, any middle court officials will be blown to smithereens if they attempt to enter. Upper court officials can perhaps still try to break through the barrier, though. There were probably over 200 individuals pulled in, so just the two of you might not be enough. We'll need another martial guard. Which highness is present right now? General Nanyang? General Xuanzhen? Weren't those two generals placed in confinement for cheering up the heavenly capital?" Someone responded. "They're in jail. For being menaces. They won't be able to heed the call. What about Tai Hua? Has His Highness Tai Hua returned?" "No, he's been assigned out." "Qing? Who knows where he ran off to? He blocks all messages and listens to no one. You already know that." Other than those few, there weren't any other martial guards worth a dime. Although he was anxious, HuaLian couldn't help but feel a little woeful. Was his scrap guard aura so strong that everyone forgot he came from a martial guard background? Really? I can't believe this. They're just listing off all the other guards. None of them are available to go. And then they're like ignoring HuaLian's existence. This is so dumb. Oh, this is so pitiful. I'm so sorry. Me, I'm present. Oh, HuaLian. Oh, that's it's pitiful, but it's so cute. "Me, I'm present," he responded hastily. "Let me go. It's just rescuing the fishermen in the East Sea, right?" Oh my gosh. "Your Highness, the winds and waves of the East Sea are perilous and your spiritual power only works occasionally. What if..." "It's fine," HuaLian said. "I fished in all 4 seas and every single time it was storming. I've often drifted on the waters for half a month at a time, so I'm very used to it." Oh my god. Another piece of lore to add to the HuaLian 800 years of pain. Oh my god. "So I'm very used to it," Ellipsa replied. All the officials couldn't help but wonder, "You've done that too? Just what else have you done? Really, HuaLian, just what else have you done?" The situation was dire and didn't allow room for more thought, so Ling Wen acquiesced. "Very well, thank you for the trouble. General Pei, get coordinated." "Sure thing," Pei Ming responded. HuaLian closed the communication array and turned to HuaChang. Sunlong, in the East Sea. When he turned his head, he saw that HuaChang had unexpectedly already changed into a refreshing fisherman getup. I do love his readiness to just ride or die for HuaLian. Ride and die, he's already dead. He tossed up a die and caught it as it fell. His other hand was on the door. Let's go, he said, simply. HuaLian was briefly stunned, but soon smiled and hurried to his side. All right. When the door opened, it wasn't the interior of a cottage that greeted them, but an expansive, gloomy seashore. The two emerged from a small fisherman's shed on the beach. This little shed was one of the most used connection points for the teleportation array on the East Sea. Beyond the beach was the boundless ocean, stretching to the ends of the horizon. The beach was grey, not because the sand was grey, but because the skies and sea were both that steely colour. Gloom pressed down, and black clouds rolled. The malaise was oppressive and suffocating. Malaise, maybe? Malaise. Giant waves surged and collapsed in the distant sea like magnificent fortress walls that rose from flat ground before crumbling in an instant. Water pillars, resembling dragons, roared into the sky and trashed like tornadoes before hurtling back into the depths. Ominous lightning crawled across the skies, twisted and savage. A large, newly built ship was berthed by the beach. There had to be a place for them to stand on the open sea. If they attempted to fly, they might get struck by lightning, so a seafaring vessel was needed to carry them out. Naturally, this wasn't an ordinary ship. Shi Qingquan, Pei Ming, and Ming Yi were already on board. And the moment they saw HuaChang and HuaLian exit the fisherman's shed, Pei Ming called out, Your Highness! Shi Qingquan sighed. Your Highness, you... Sorry for the trouble, I truly am. HuaLian boarded the ship. Only doing my duty. How do we start the ship? Pei Ming noticed HuaChang, who had his arms crossed and appeared quite at home. Non-essential individuals must leave. This tempest isn't a joke, he warned. HuaChang was dressed in plain, patched clothes and looked like a winsome little fisherman. Nonetheless, nothing could hide away his bright handsomeness. I'm not non-essential. I'm just following my highness, he laughed. He's from my palace, HuaLian explains. You're really not fooling anyone, jeez. But Pei Ming had already flashed an inch of his blade from its sheath. Stand down, he stated, unrelenting and determined. HuaLian hadn't yet responded when HuaChang answered with unusual firmness. No, I have to go with you on this trip. Both sides were only in a stalemate for a moment, but Shi Qingquan was living seconds as if they were seasons. He turned to Pei Ming. General Pei, this man is fine. Let's just go. During their exchange, lightning violently struck the surface of the sea. The current coursed through the waters and crackled outward, brightening the sea to an aqua color. It looked like a giant heart that had suddenly started pulsating and breathing. It was a spectacular sight, but also terrifying. Pei Ming didn't want to wait any longer and barked an order to leave. Start! The ship gave a violent shudder. With a rumbling sound of shafts whirling, the ship steered itself without any manual control. It left the beach and sailed out with great speed. As lightning flashed and thunder roared, the ship opened a path between crashing waves. Gosh, all the descriptions so far in this chapter have been absolutely awesome. I would love to see all of this animated one day, even if it's going to be in our nursing homes. Gosh, can you imagine? Can you imagine? The storm was huge, but HuaLian, HuaChang, Pei Ming, and Ming Yi all stood steadily. As for Shi Qingquan, it was only thanks to Ming Yi's support that he hadn't fallen over. Can the ship hold out against the storm? HuaLian yelled. It's manageable right now, but it'll be hard to say as we move forward, Pei Ming replied. The ship was already moving at an extremely fast pace, spearing through the waves and creating huge splashes of its own in its wake. Yet Shi Qingquan still asked, Can't this thing go any faster? Running this ship burns spiritual power. This is already the fastest it can go, Pei Ming replied. Shi Qingquan clenched his right fist. That was the hand he used to hold the Windmaster fan. With just one swing, it could have provided a tailwind and made the ship go at least 4 times faster. Yet now, that hand was empty. He couldn't help but exhale another long sigh. HuaLian tapped HuaLian lightly and whispered, "Gaga." HuaLian turned his head, and his eyes widened. About 30 meters out, there was a small fishing boat spinning in the waves. He could vaguely see a few figures that seemed to be calling for help, but their cries were being swallowed by the noise of the waves. The fishermen in distress. This was why he was here. Roy shot out and wrapped around the fishermen's midsections, then hauled them in. Their legs almost gave out the moment their feet touched the ship's deck. Ming immediately opened the door of one of the cabins and threw them inside. When the fishermen opened the door again, they would find themselves back on shore. Okay. Clever. So this would really be perceived as a miracle by the mortals then. HuaLian and HuaLian fished up 30 or 40 fishermen. While they were doing so, the ship was carried by turbulent waters closer and closer to the center of the tempest. Right now, there were surely many heavenly officials watching this frightening scene from afar, and there were surely many mortals staring in awe and terror at the might of heaven. The lightning struck at the ship with increasing frequency, attracted to sources of spiritual power. It would pursue and strike at those who stood out. This was why other officials generally stayed far away when someone was undergoing a heavenly tribulation, lest they fall victim. Qing was mortal right now. HuaLian only had enough power to communicate through the array, and HuaLian's powers were tucked away neatly, as he had no need to use them. Thus, the lightning focused on Ming alone. He frequently needed to strike bolts back with his sword, though he managed it with considerable ease. HuaLian was rather impressed by his show of skill. This was why middle court officials were not permitted to come. If they were present, they'd surely be chased away with lightning hot on their tails, as they certainly wouldn't be able to strike back. After crossing through the barrier, Qing yelled, "Ga!" HuaLian looked upward. Sure enough, Sherwood floated there in the skies, surrounded by 7 or 8 roaring water dragon pillars. His hands formed a battle hand seal, and his white robes whipped wildly in the winds. Although he was still suppressing the great waves, he seemed somewhat unfocused and his control was unsteady. The frenzied water dragons stalked him relentlessly and seized upon every chance to get closer and devour him whole. I thought they were Sherwooders for a second there. I thought he was the one making them. But okay, the water dragons are rushing at him. Are they perhaps, like of course they could be beasts generally, but they could also, maybe belong to another water demon who likes to sink ships with them. Just saying. Each time he only barely dodged. The ship was dozens of meters away from him. If the Windmaster fan was still usable, Qing could have pushed the waves down a notch. In his current mortal body, even his voice couldn't reach very far, and he could only watch in distress. When Ming spoke, his voice was broadcast powerfully and widely. "Watermaster Shong, we've found Qing." As soon as he spoke, Sherwood opened his eyes. Another giant wave surged to the skies and crashed back down. The ship was thrown high into the air, but it didn't keep up with the speed of the collapsing waters. It hung there for a brief second before falling rapidly. HuaLian used the 1,000-pound weight spell to steady himself and dragged HuaLian's hand tightly. The 1,000-pound weight spell, which he used in the Banyu arc as well, so at least it's getting a reintroduction, like it's still there. It's something that's not just for one scene. Which a lot of these spells are probably gonna end up being, so I like the recurring. I like having them recur. Watch out! It was a funny feeling. HuaLian was clearly taller than him, and it took him no effort to carry HuaLian with one hand, but HuaLian always felt that HuaLian was light as a feather. Like, if he didn't pay attention, he would disappear. And so, HuaLian held him firmly, and HuaLian clutched his hand in return. They're so cute. They're being so cute. In the middle of battle, but still, I'm gonna take it. Hand-holding. Necessary hand-holding. Safety first, right? "Watermaster Shong, focus!" Ming called out. "If you don't push those waves of yours down, you'll drown your little brother." Sherwood saw the ship in the distance and heard his words. Anger flashed across his face. His hand seal changed and a spiritual shield burst from around him. It struck the water dragons that had been circling him, and they exploded into a bulge of water that crashed soundly into the sea. The raindrops hurtled like rocks against the deck and pelted their bodies painfully. However, after this assault, the storm slowed and calmed somewhat. Schöbudu carefully descended and landed on the ship. Everyone was drenched from head to toe like drowned dogs. Shi Qingxuan wiped his face and mumbled with trepidation. Go! Schöbudu's face was still dark, and he approached in large strides. I told you to stay put, but you had to run away? Will you finally be satisfied if I'm angered to death? Shi Qingxuan really didn't know what to say to that. When he couldn't see his brother, he'd worry, but now that he had seen him, he could only think about that whole awful business. His heart just couldn't get over it. I'm only just... In the end, he scratched his head and sighed. As long as you pass your trial, that's all that matters. I still think... Schöbudu cut him off. Who said my trial is over? Shi Qingxuan was taken aback. Wasn't that it? Ming made use of the water to slick back his hair. Yeah, because everyone got drenched. Don't relax so soon. This is your brother's third heavenly tribulation, so it's not going to be that easy. It'll take at least 7 days and 7 nights. What you just saw was only the opening act. Truth to be told, even if it were his first heavenly tribulation, it wouldn't be so easy. The heavenly tribulation that prompted Shi Qingxuan's ascension was heavily diluted compared to everyone else's. He must have come to that conclusion as well. And his face grew glum. HuaLian's primary concern was the original goal of this journey. So he asked in the spiritual communication array, Lingwen, we've entered the area where Lord Watermaster's heavenly tribulation is taking place. Can you tell us the location of the fishermen who were dragged into the storm? Please wait a moment, Lingwen replied. After a pause, she said, This is troublesome. Today, 261 fishermen were pulled into the perimeter of the heavenly tribulation, and they're scattered all over the place. Her voice started to break up, and HuaLian couldn't really understand her anymore. What's wrong? Lingwen? He thought his powers were low again, but when he looked up and saw Pei Ming's face, it was obvious that he was experiencing the same thing. Before they could discuss the matter, HuaLian saw more little broken boats not far away from them. Maybe the aftershocks of the opening round were too great and affected spiritual communication. It might improve in a bit. Lingwen said 261 fishermen were scattered by the waves, so let's just save as many as we can. Naturally, no one objected. Watermaster Shang, why don't you go inside and rest for a bit? Pei Ming suggested. Your trial only just started, and who knows when the next round will come. You're pretty unlucky to have dragged in so many mortals this time. Schöbudu did appear somewhat tired. He nodded, pushed open the door of another cabin, and went inside to meditate. Shi Qingxuan looked like he wanted to say something serious to him, but since his heavenly tribulation wasn't over, he couldn't bring himself to speak. He could only swallow his words and mope off to the side with Ming Yi. However, Schöbudu opened his eyes again and said sharply, Don't go running around. Come and sit right here. And so, Shi Qingxuan could only crouch down next to Schöbudu. More than half a day passed thus. As the night darkened, the ship floated farther into the deeper part of the East Sea. Although spiritual communication still only worked sporadically, they managed. HuaLian and company rescued over 200 fishermen during this period. The fishermen had gone to sea to fish, as always, but stormy winds and waves suddenly surged, and they were pulled too far out. It would have been impossible to drift back on their own if help hadn't come. And if left to drift, they would have floated endlessly until they died from starvation or dehydration, their corpses desiccated under the sun. They were understandably overjoyed at this miraculous ray of hope that saved them from the brink of death. Who knew how many days and nights it'd take for all the drifting fishermen to be rescued from the open water? And Schöbudu's third heavenly tribulation still had not officially started. Danger could rear its head at any moment, but even at a time like this, Pei Ming still acted as he always did. In the evening, they came upon a few terrified fisher girls needing rescue. Oh no, I see where this is going. Their faces smeared with tears. He held them in his embrace and soothed them with gentle words. It was a true show of honey-sweet romance and affectionate, charming display. Only after he charmed the girls did he send them off to the cabin, and the girls were all reluctant to leave, clearly hoping that when they opened the door, he would still be there. Sherwoodoo cracked open his eyes. He'd been meditating for a while now, and his complexion looked better. Don't you usually have high standards? Although the fisher girls were in the full bloom of youth, they were still on the average. They were nowhere near the standard of targets Pei Ming usually hunted. Now that he'd held some woman, Pei Ming's face was glowing. Can't believe that he is canonically powered by a woman's embrace. He rubbed his chin as he laughed. After rescuing so many old scraggly bearded fishermen, any woman looks like an outstanding beauty in comparison. Upon hearing this, both HuaLian and MING didn't want to look at him anymore. HuaLian actually found it rather funny and shook his head. He and Huachang sat down next to each other at the side of the ship, and he felt the emptiness of his stomach a moment later. Everyone else on the ship didn't need to eat. Qing was mortal right now, but HuaLian suspected Sherwoodoo must have given him some sort of a holy pill, the kind that could fill a stomach for a few days. Even now, Qing didn't show any sign of hunger. The ship wasn't built in the mortal realm, so it wouldn't carry any rations. HuaLian was about to get up and try catching some fish when Huachang passed something over. HuaLian looked down to find it was a soft, snow-white steamed bun. Why does that get my heart like the fucking steamed bun? This is peak HuaLian. He sat back down and whispered, "Thank you, Sannang. Take this for now, Gogo," Huachang whispered back. "It'll get better soon." They split the steamed bun in half to share, and the two sat together to slowly munch on it. Pei Ming heard them whispering to each other from where he stood on the other end of the ship. He slicked his hair back again. "Have you two discovered something? Why don't you leave your little world for a moment and come share with the rest of us?" HuaLian was about to say something to put him off, but frowned instead. "Don't you all sense something strange?" MING frowned as well and looked up. "Yes." HuaLian rose to his feet. "The ship seems to be going much slower. Is it running out of power?" "How could that be?" Pei Ming said. "The ship's stores of spiritual power should allow it to run for several more days at sea." HuaLian approached the side and set his hands on the railing. "But I keep getting the sense that the ship got heavier." He abruptly stopped mid-sentence. Sherwoodoo and the others gathered where he stood. "What is it?" But there was no need to ask. With just a glance, they understood. Despite the darkened sky, the draft of the ship's hull was visibly abnormal. The hull was much lower in the water than before, and the waterline was still climbing. Like a ship sinking? "Is the hull leaking?" HuaLian asked. "Did we hit a shoal? Is there something in the water that tore a hole?" "That's impossible!" Pei Ming exclaimed. "How would we not notice hitting a shoal? And this isn't some ordinary ship. Nothing should be able to pierce the hull. Unless..." He choked as though he had abruptly realized something. "Unless what?" MING demanded. "Oh no," Pei Ming said. "What do you mean, oh no?" Qing demanded. Pei Ming whirled around. "Ships immediately sink in ghosts' territories. We've drifted into the black water demon lair." The time has finally come. Oh my god, we're here! We're getting somewhere! We're at Blackwater's lair! Oh my god! Yeah, he is, I've been waiting for him to come catapulting into the story for ever since I started this read now, so, this was about time. Here he is. Oh my god. I'll be back with some tea, and I'll be back with some tea. Give me a second. Holy shit, holy fuck. That was, This is such an exciting chapter. I can't believe this is happening. And yes, the whole, like, the tribulation, the start of it anyways, it's fine, it's cool, I guess. We're rescuing innocent people, that is why HuaLian decided to come in the end, because he's actually a bit, like, on the fence about this. He's decided he doesn't want to get involved anymore because, on one hand, HuaLian is a kind of person who will give the benefit of the doubt to people he believes is trying to do the right thing. But when he morally disagrees with something, such as voodoo harming someone else for the gain of himself and his family member, like that's against HuaLian's sensibilities. He would report this, but he's gonna give them some time because of the situation as it plays out. And I think that is gonna make this even worse. Because now we're gonna chug on and we're gonna, like, everyone has just kind of decided to support voodoo through this tribulation. Even though everyone in this room, except for Ming, are kind of against what he's been up to. Like, Ming definitely, like, according to HuaLian's narration of things here, it seems that MING is very against this, because MING is, after all, a very proper heavenly official. But I think that, again, Ming's reason for being against this is because he is involved in this in some form or another. I just don't know what it is anymore. The most likely thing being that he actually knows Blackwater and knows that he's the one doing all of this, even before this is going to become more clear to us, which is, it's about to happen, guys. Come on, we're finally meeting Blackwater. We're finally meeting Blackwater. I can't believe this time has come. It only took us 4 volumes, and I'm so excited about this. And again, like I said, I know Blackwater is like a favorite character for so many people, so I'm super, super excited to learn what he's about, okay? Because already, if all of this is true, and Scholar Her is indeed Blackwater, I can definitely see why he would be an exciting character. Like, you would want to side with him because of the injustice that he's been through. But now he's also, you know, kind of exacting his revenge. Like, he is the reason why Qing is in distress right now. But also, he hasn't, you know, killed him or anything, or harmed him beyond taking away his spiritual powers, making him fall from heaven, fall from grace. But Qing himself is also, you know, skeptical about his own position as a heavenly official now, because he shares some of that justice that's yeah. Like, it's like he's not actively working against Blackwater. I'm gonna stop saying Blackwater until it's confirmed. Scholar Her. It seems like, well, of course, in distress, he's not really, like I said, who cares who it was? This is the truth of it, and that's what's making me so distressed. And he wants to confront his brother, but he's not gonna do it right now because his brother is doing his heavenly tribulation, and I think his hesitating here is gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad. It's gonna go on for too long. We're gonna keep hesitating, and that's not gonna be great once we meet Scholar Her, right? Because once we meet Scholar Her and this gets out and everyone else, like it becomes it is the elephant in the room right now. But once Voodoo gets to be aware of this connection, of who Blackwater I said I was not going to say this anymore, but of who Blackwater sinking ships really is, of who Blackwater Demon Xuan really is. Once he becomes aware of this, and the truth comes out. Like, imagine if it is once the guy himself is there. At that point, all of these people, Qing, HuaLian, Ming, like, they all have something to answer for because they know the truth. Why haven't they reported it? Why are they still supporting Voodoo? Why is not a single one of them confronting him? Because they want to, they have the intention to, but they're hesitating for various reasons. Qing is hesitating because it is his brother. HuaLian is hesitating because of Qing. He wants to give Qing the opportunity to do it. And Ming is hesitating because if Ming really was, you know, HuaLian's narration here is kind of like clashing with what Ming is actually doing. Because Ming might be hesitating because of Qing, but if he was really doing what HuaLian is talking about, he should have gone and reported it. he shouldn't have hesitated. He should have gone and reported it right then and there. But I think it is either because of Qing or because he is involved in this somehow. And it would be really unfortunate if all of that came into light. Like, he might have even fucked up. He might even be the reason why this all kickstarted, in a sense. But anyway, I am ignoring everything else. This was a fun little excursion on this little magical boat of ours, with Pei Ming just doing what he's supposed to do. Like, he's really acting the role of a heavenly official now. And as far as we know right now, it doesn't seem like he actually knows what has happened. Sorry, I had to take a call. Where was I? I was going off about something and I can't recall what it was anymore. Yes, the hesitation to reveal anything. HuaLian is the only person who has no horses in this race, as the book said, but he is here because HuaLian is here. HuaLian decided to be here to help the innocent mortals, and he decided to tag along because you just focus on what you want to do. I absolutely love this, but at the same time, HuaLian is probably the person who has some of these answers. HuaLian has pushed him a little bit earlier for answers, and surprisingly, he never divulged the information that we need. Usually, he is very free with whatever HuaLian wants to know, but this time around, he is being very quiet. And that's really just hit me in the stomach right now, because why would HuaLian be so quiet about this? Because he knows it. He knows what is going on. He knows Xuan. He knows Blackwater, and therefore likely knows a little bit about Blackwater's existence, his goals. He has probably had dealings with him, like, I don't know, someone said way back, red rules the land, black rules the sea or something. That's been stuck in my head. I don't remember where I read it. In a YouTube comment, I think. Or maybe in the server. Or was it in the book? I can't recall it right now. I really can't. But point being, I think he must be aware of him and aware of his deal. And I think he actually has the information that we're missing. And the reason why HuaLian is not giving us this information is because, well, one, he doesn't want HuaLian to get involved any more than he is, because knowing this is gonna put him into situations like, what am I gonna do, which is currently what is happening anyway, so HuaLian spill the fucking beans. But also I'm wondering if, from a ghost king to another, do they have like an agreement going on? They could have an agreement going on regarding this, because this is, let's think about it for a second. Like, HuaLian's origin is HuaLian. Everything about that is his origin. This whole plot is Blackwater's origin. So maybe there is like a sort of boundary here that they've set. And HuaLian is only here because HuaLian. Other than that, he's not going to touch this. This is not his plate, and he's going to leave it like that. But I also wonder if, alternatively, Blackwater is a ghost king. A ghost king who is devouring other ghosts to get their powers. We don't know if HuaLian has ever devoured ghosts, but from the way this mechanic is being presented to the story, it doesn't seem like he has, right? Because it seems like it's viewed as a very malicious thing, and even HuaLian isn't that malicious. Or that's the impression I'm getting right now. He might actually have devoured some pretty powerful ghosts. We don't actually know that yet. But let's say he hasn't. Would that make Blackwater a threat? Could Blackwater be a threat even to HuaLian? Is Blackwater somewhat of an adversary to HuaLian in the same sense that Bai Wuxiang would be? Like, they are the same level, right? Ghost King, right? But even within their ranks, their powers, like if Ghost Kings fought, who would win? Would HuaLian come out on top? Or would Bai Wuxiang or Blackwater? Depending on, I don't know how their power levels vary, So we're just gonna have to wait and figure this out eventually. And to take a step in that direction, we should read another chapter, right? These chapters have been awfully short, and the next one isn't that much better, but let's go for it. Let's go into Blackwater. Blackwater's little lair, right? So settle in and let's read chapter 62. Ships in the lair of ghosts shall sink. One of the four supremes, ship sinking black water? HuaLian asked. 4 calamities, not 4 supremes, Ellipse replied. I don't know who said that, but yes, she wrong. Does not count. So that's the distinction. Calamities because of the tail, but supreme, there are only 3 supremes. Only then did HuaLian realize that he had subconsciously removed Qirong from the calamity ranks. This was likely because there was no way he could put Night Touring Green Lantern on the same level as the other 3. True. As someone who had dutifully crammed with informative scrolls, HuaLian knew a bit about ships sinking black water. According to legend, he was a great and powerful water ghost who lurked in the outer seas. Like Crimson Rain Salt Flower, he slaughtered his way out of Mount Tonglu, because yes, that is another requirement. Although he tended to keep a low profile, that profile was only low in the mortal and heavenly realms. He had devoured over 500 infamous nefarious creatures across the land, about 400 of which were other high-level water ghosts. The Blackwater Demon Lair was his personal domain. Just as Ghost City was under HuaChang's jurisdiction alone, lawlessness reigned within these boundaries. When one stepped foot into a Supreme's domain, they had the final say. There was a widespread saying in the ghost realm, Crimson rules the land, Black masters the waters. Okay, that is very similar to what I've heard. I think I might not have heard it in the book then. I might have read it somewhere else, in the comments or in a chat. I don't know, it's very familiar to me and it struck me very early on. So it's kind of been like in here somewhere. Crimson rules the land, Black masters the waters. Crimson obviously referred to Crimson Rain Salt Flower, who was known for his signature red clothing. Black was none other than Blackwater Demon Xuan. Watermaster Shang, you're really unlucky this time, Pei-Ming said. But Demon Xuan isn't like the Green Ghost. He's not the type to look for trouble. Thankfully, we haven't strayed too far, so let's steer back quickly before we're discovered. The others stared at him. Well, why don't you change course then? Aren't you the one in charge of the ship? I have no idea who said that, actually, it doesn't even say who. Pei-Ming was equally confused. Did it not change course yet? The ship should follow my command on its own, it shouldn't require physical control. But the rudder didn't budge. With no other options, Pei-Ming resorted to manual steering, but when his hand landed on the rudder, he furrowed his brows. HuaLian went over as well. It won't move? It was impossible that Pei-Ming lacked the strength for it. HuaLian was fairly confident in his own strength, and yet he wasn't able to move it either. After examining the situation at hand, MING announced, It must have gotten caught on something. I'll go down and take a look. Shi Qingxuan chimed in. I'll go with you, Mingsheng. Come back here, Shi Wudu said sternly. Don't go running around. Shi Qingxuan didn't dare disobey, knowing that his brother shouldn't be distracted or emotionally agitated while he was undergoing his trial. So once again, Ming Yi gets to go off on his own, eh? He returned to Shi Wudu's side, shamefaced, leaving Ming Yi to investigate under the deck alone. HuaLian wanted to help, but he knew he wasn't as capable as the Earthmaster when it came to building and repairs. Even if he went, he wouldn't be able to do much. That is just explaining away why we're not joining Ming Yi. Guys! Am I the only one suspicious of Ming Yi? I need someone else to be suspicious of Ming Yi in this book. As he gazed into the pitch-black sea that surrounded them, HuaLian remembered something more important. Did any fishermen end up around here? HuaChang had extremely good eyesight and had been working alongside HuaLian in the search and rescue efforts. He was the one who had discovered many of the stranded fishermen. He did a quick survey around them. There shouldn't be, HuaChang concluded. Blackwater Demon Lair is in the South Sea. They wouldn't drift this far. And the area here has a barrier so ordinary folk can't enter, barring special circumstances. Even if they did, they're beyond saving. Basically everything that drifts here sinks. The South Sea. He hadn't realized they drifted so far. HuaLian tested his spiritual communication array and sure enough, the connection was down. Their connection before had been spotty but still usable. Now there was complete silence. Although the sea currently looked peaceful, there could be danger lurking in the abyssal depths. The sky was growing darker, and HuaLian felt uneasy. Since there aren't any stranded fishermen in these parts, if Lord Earthmaster can't repair it, why don't we abandon ship and head ashore? Lord Watermaster can return to the East Sea for his trial, and we can continue the search and rescue as well, he suggested. That works, Ming agreed and opened the cabin door. Yet when he pulled open the door instead of dry land, he was met with the interior of an empty cabin. His face changed at the sight. The teleportation array lost its power? HuaLian laughed. Isn't that obvious? If you can't use the spiritual communication array, why would the teleportation array work any better? Agreed. Ming sent a sidelong glance at him. Little friend, you seem quite calm for someone so young. Not worried at all, are you? He commented flatly. The ship drifted into ghost territory and is sinking as we speak, HuaLian interrupted. Well done, HuaLian. Get him off that trail. We can't leave even if we want to. Let's solve the problem at hand first, Shi Qingxuan called under the deck. Mingshong, how's the situation looking down there? Can you fix it? Mingyi's voice came from below. Nothing's broken. The ship isn't caught on anything either. Something else made the ship lose power. That would be Demon Xuan's spiritual field, Ming stated gravely. As he was speaking, the ship dipped violently again. HuaLian saw that the water had already swallowed over half the ship. A normal boat would have given way to the waves by now, but this one still resisted and fought to stay afloat due to its divine provenance. There must be exceptions. It's impossible that everything sinks here, he insisted. There must be something that won't sink. There is, HuaLian said. All attention fell on him. With his arms folded, he elaborated lazily. There is one type of wood that will not sink in the Blackwater Demon lair. HuaLian guessed at several common special varieties of woods. Sandalwood? Agarwood? Elm? Coffin wood, HuaLian answered. Coffin wood? Yup, HuaLian said. No one has returned alive after stumbling into Blackwater Demon lair, except for one individual. He was traveling home with the corpse of a family member. After his boat sank, he rode the coffin and drifted back to shore. Ming raised his brow. You sure know a lot, little friend. HuaLian mirrored his expression. Nah. You just know too little, that's all. Oh my god. I love him. Shobudu remained in his meditation position and his hands maintained their seal. But he turned his attention to HuaLian and narrowed his eyes. Peishong, I've been meaning to ask, who exactly is this? Where is he from? Why is he with you? I'm afraid you're going to have to ask His Highness about that, Ming explained. After all, he is someone from his palace. All right, Shi Qingxuan interrupted. Enough of that who knows how much talk. Now that spells have lost their power, where do we get a coffin around here? Well, that's easy, Ming answered. Come, Gaga will build one for you right now. I'll show you what it means to take things into your own hands and live well without anyone's help. Seriously. Ellipsa reply. Ming said, roll up your sleeves. We're learning practical work now. That won't work, HuaLian pointed out. It has to be a coffin that's carried a corpse. That was that then. It wasn't like they could build a coffin and then kill a person in the group to fill it. As they discussed the topic, the boat dipped again. The deck where they stood tilted and was almost level with the water's surface, and Shobudu nearly toppled out of his prim and proper meditation pose. Forget it, let me handle this, he said coldly. He produced his fan and tapped it against the center of his forehead, then fanned it out to reveal the character for water on the front and a wave pictogram made up of 3 curving lines on the back. He lifted his arm and issued a command. Water, come forth! HuaLian felt the ship spring upward. The deck rose almost a meter above the waterline, and some sense of safety returned. The Watermaster fan even controls the waters of the Blackwater Demon lair, he asked in surprise. Not the water here, HuaLian corrected. He channeled it from elsewhere. As it turned out, they hadn't ventured too far past the boundary of the Black Water Demon lair, so Sherwood was still able to call forth nearby waters to lift the ship up from underneath. "Beautifully done, Watermaster Shong," Pei Ming praised. "Now that the rudder is useless, the boat can't turn around. Quick, use the current to haul the ship back." Before Sherwood could reply, the ship dipped once again. The demon lair's water refused to concede defeat and clashed with the current from the outside seas. The dip was ruthless this time, and the deck tilted even more. Losing balance, the crew slid to the bow of the ship. Although Sherwood was born with gentlemanly, handsome looks, his personality was extremely imperious, and he refused to retreat. Sensing that something dared to oppose him, anger flashed across his face. He snapped his fan shut, and when he opened it again, the 3 wave lines had grown larger, and the outer current doubled in force. The ship was yanked up once again, with one force relentlessly dragging the boat down and another stubbornly forcing it to rise. The ups and downs made it seem like a giant game of tug-of-war. The ship sailed onwards, then jolted to a stop. Then it sank and rose with the motion. Waves crashed wildly around them, making seawater roll across the deck and into the ship. It was an incredibly vexing situation. If ordinary folk were on board, they would be scared witless by now. HuaLian gripped the ledge tightly with one hand, while he held on to HuaChang tightly with the other. "What's happening? The ship is turning!" he exclaimed. It was just as he said. The ship had started spinning. The faster it spun, the lower it sank. HuaLian abruptly realized that the ship had been dragged into a giant maelstrom, and was being sucked into its vortex. "Everyone, be careful," he warned. "The 2 forces of water are clashing." In the end, this was not Sherwood's home turf. While the current he summoned from the outer seas was mighty, it weakened after crossing the boundary. It was at a slight disadvantage in the fight against the tides of the demon lair. As expected, as soon as HuaLian spoke, the ship was sucked into the vortex. HuaLian tossed out Function at the last second and pulled HuaChang close. The 2 stepped onto the sword and flew up and away. Yeah, this is the sword flying I've been hearing about, huh? I can't remember if that happened yet in TGCF, but I've heard about this sword flying. At first, he was worried that Function wouldn't have the strength, but he let out a sigh of relief the moment they left the deck. Although it was shaky, at least the sword could still fly. They looked down from above to see that the whole area was painted a deep, terrifying black. Below them were 2 massive currents of obviously different colors, and it was their pursuit of and clash with each other that had formed the colossal maelstrom. As the vortex swallowed the ship whole, the 2 water currents quickly separated. However, their battle was far from over. They continued to snap at each other like 2 venomous vipers, and each collision stirred angry waves. HuaLian looked around. "Lord Windmaster, Lord Earthmaster, General Pei, is everyone still here?" Shi Qingxuan's voice came from dozens of meters behind them. "Your Highness, we're over here." "Did you hop on your sword as well?" HuaLian turned, and the scene that greeted him left him speechless. MING stood atop of the handle of the crescent shovel. They're standing on the Earthmaster shovel. I love this. Shi Qingxuan was seated on the head of the same shovel and was waving at HuaLian. I need to make a note for this shovel, because this shovel apparently has powers that could be pretty useful, and also, who knows, this might come back again. So Shi Qingxuan was seated on the head of the same shovel and was waving at HuaLian. They didn't ride back and forth on a sword, but a shovel. The sight was unbearable to witness. Pei Ming's voice also called to them from nearby. "Where's Watermaster Shong?" Seeing that Pei Ming was on his sword alone and there was no sign of the Watermaster, Shi Qingxuan cried out, "Ga! Ga! No need to panic. The Watermaster is the god of water. He can't have gone under." HuaLian reassured him. But when he recalled the power of the whirlpool, he didn't dare underestimate its might. He turned to HuaChang. "Sanlang, hold on tight to my waist. Don't lose your grip and fall." HuaChang, very obediently, did so. Okay." But Gaga, there's something I have to tell you. What is it? HuaLian asked. You can't fly in the Blackwater Demon lair. It'll attract things. Thanks for the information, son. Not a moment later, a long, sharp cry pierced the air. Here comes something. A behemoth white creature broke through the water's surface and headed straight for Pei Ming. Pei Ming was a master swordman, and he reflexively reached for his sword the moment he saw a monster attacking, only to belatedly realize said sword was under his feet. Luckily, his reaction was swift. He leapt into the air, grabbed his sword, and sliced the incoming creature in half. Before gravity could take hold, he flipped back onto the sword without a single hair out of place. Martial gods. He steadily flew upward and asked in a rather calm tone, "What was that?" After it was cleaved in half, the creature crashed back into the sea with a mournful wail. HuaLian squinted to get a better look at the creature floating on the water's surface. Fish? It was certainly a fish, but this wasn't your average sea creature. It was a skeletal fish, over 15 meters in length and half a dozen meters wide. This fish had neither flesh nor scales, only stark white bones that connected to a mouth filled with sharp teeth. He couldn't immediately determine if it was venomous, but its bite would surely be a pain in the butt regardless. Pei Ming flew higher. "Be careful, there's definitely more than one of those things," he warned. Sure enough, the moment he mentioned more than one, a second skeletal fish shot out from the depths. This time, it headed straight for MING and Qing. Unfortunately, the Earthmaster wasn't a martial god and had little fighting power, and the Windmaster was now a mortal in flesh. On top of all this, MING was rusty when it came to shovel riding. I'm sure he doesn't do this often. Even though the two didn't get bitten, they were still knocked off balance and sent tumbling down to the waters below. As they felt, Qing cried out in despair. "Mingshong, after today, make sure you use your spiritual device more, okay?" "Screw off," MING snapped at him. Pei Ming sighed and rushed over to rescue the two. Seeing his skilled form, HuaLian knew that he would be able to handle it on his own. It's really not Earthmaster's fault, he thought. A shovel as a spiritual device. No heavenly official with any sense of shame would want to bring it out. Yeah, that's honestly, we should just give it to HuaLian. He would master it in no time, I'm sure. Just then, a chill ran down his spine. HuaLian regained his focus and said temperately, "Sunlung, hold on tight and watch out. Something's coming our way." "Okay." His arms tightened around his waist. Not long after, 4 watery walls shot up from the depths and surrounded them. 4 giant bonefish rose from the sea. Rather than fish, the ghastly behemoth skeletons were more like dragons. Sharp, jagged horns protruded from their skulls. Balls of inextinguishable ghost fire burned in their empty eye sockets like giant lanterns, and the 4 legs, each one were tipped with claws. Their bodies were as thick as water vats and at least a few dozen meters long. Their upper halves breached the water's surface, but it was impossible to guess the length of the rest that lurked beneath the waves. The creatures circled HuaLian and HuaChang as they hung there in the air, leaving no room for escape. The pair couldn't fly upward. This was as high as function could go. If they descended, the deathly silent ocean would greet them. HuaLian sighed. "All right. Who's first?" After a moment of consideration, he clasped his hands. "Together it is." Soon after, the bone dragon to the east took the initiative. It shrieked and charged forward. HuaLian raised his hand and jabbed a finger in its direction. The bone dragon froze on the spot. It was a massive creature, but it was frozen in place by 1 sword, 1 man, and 1 finger. No matter how it struggled, it couldn't move another inch forward. Its tail and hind claws trashed and raced walls of waves. The other 3 dragons lunged forward as well. HuaLian curled his finger into a claw and grabbed the frozen bone dragon by the horn and lashed its body around like a whip. A loud whoosh tore through the sky. The 3 incoming dragons were skewered by the one HuaLian trashed out. and they howled as they collapsed into the sea in a mess of bones. HuaLian watched the broken bones drift with the movement of the waves as he dusted off his hands and let out a breath. He turned around. Sandong, are you okay? I love a competent boy. I love our competent boy. He is so... I love you so much, HuaLian. I love you so much. HuaChang smiled happily at him. Under Gega's protection, how could anything happen to me? Indeed. His response made HuaLian feel embarrassed. Now that he thought about it, dealing with this sort of thing was also an easy task for HuaChang. How could he be anything but perfectly fine? I love that you just want to protect your man. You just want to protect your man. So cute. Love it. So it just sounded like HuaLian was intentionally asking for praise. It's okay, HuaLian. He will give it to you willingly, a lot of it. Just then, the sword unexpectedly dipped. Before HuaLian could even register what had happened, they were already falling rapidly. An instant later, they plunged headfirst into the icy cold water. Oh no. Oof. They weren't dragged down by anything. Function was simply too old and couldn't hold out anymore. This old-ass sword, we need to get you a better one. It needed to rest after straining itself for so long. The bone-chilling sea water rushed in from all directions. HuaLian choked on water a few times, then quickly shut his mouth tight and tried to swim upward. But the black water demon lair was as wicked as described. Though HuaLian considered himself a fairly good swimmer, his body felt like a block of lead in these waters. No matter what he did, he couldn't float. He opened his eyes, but the water was as black as the world behind his eyelids, and he couldn't find HuaChang. He groped around with his hands, but he only managed to grab hold of the sinking Function, not the person he sought. He started to grow anxious. The more anxious he was, the more sluggish his movements became, and the faster he sank. Thankfully, it wasn't long before a hand suddenly parted the fog. HuaLian's eyes lit up. In the next second, someone grasped his hand, hugged his waist, and tugged him upward. A little... We've seen this before. They ascended rapidly through the waters and broke the surface, and HuaLian sucked in a few breaths. When he wiped his face, he found that he'd been brought up from the depths by none other than HuaChang. It was quite strange. Technically, HuaChang was dead. As the saying goes, the dead are heavier, dead weight, so to speak, so he should have sunk faster than HuaLian, but he floated lightly and effortlessly in the water. He lowered his head to look at HuaLian. Are you alright? HuaLian nodded. But this scene felt quite familiar, and brought with it memories of a similar situation that had happened not so long ago. It made him blush. Yeah, I thought we might be remembering. With one arm wrapped around HuaLian, HuaChang used his free arm to leisurely glide through the water. Hang on tight to me, Gega. You'll sink if you let go. At a loss for words, HuaLian blankly nodded several times. Not far from them, the water stirred, and several sharp horns broke through the surface, like the fins of a school of sharks. The horns rushed toward them. With incredible speed, the 4 bone dragons that HuaLian had knocked out were back for revenge. The bone dragons circled them, eyeing them with predatory gazes, but soon they could hold themselves back no longer and ferociously dove in. HuaLian grabbed Function tightly, but as he waited for the right moment to strike, he heard HuaChang click his tongue in annoyance. The bone dragons were already within arm's reach and ready to tear them apart, but upon hearing that sound, their killing intent immediately vanished. How do you know? How do you know? How do you know how to click your tongue at these bone dragons, HuaChang? You've seen these before. You've been here before. The fanged mouth that had been ready to snap HuaLian's throat instead inched forward and nudged at Function, as if pecking it with tiny kisses. HuaLian was utterly confused. He remained dumbfounded as the 4 bone dragons scampered away like they were scared, tails between their legs. HuaLian was left speechless, and he floated there in the sheer bewilderment, but HuaChang had already continued swimming. Gega, you see that? If you plan on raising pets in the future, definitely don't consider those things. They're useless trash. Pets? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Hua-Chang has totally been here. He has met Blackwater and his pets before. Fucking for real. Pets! No, I don't need any pets, HuaLian replied weakly. All of a sudden, the water dragon hurtled up from under the water surface and shot into the sky. HuaLian looked up and saw Sherwoodoo seated on top of the creature's head. His hands were clasped together in an aggressive attack hand seal, and his face was dark with hostility, as if he was fighting vigorously against some unseen force. The once calm, once peaceful sea was now tossing and turning. HuaLian called out, "Lord Windmaster, Lord Earthmaster, General Pei, where are you?" Borrowing the moonlight, he was able to scan his surroundings. Instead of finding his comrades, he found himself engulfed by a huge shadow. HuaLian turned his head sharply and his eyes widened. It was an enormous wave. I see the interlude coming up. Oh my gosh, we're getting taken by this wave. As tall as the city wall, it engulfed the skies and it lounged his way. In the next moment, he was awash in complete darkness. Yeah, so Blackwater has pets, which of course makes him infinitely more likable to everyone. And yeah, that would surely put him, you know, up on someone's character tier list. Pets are very good. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. They're like attack dogs, and then Hua-Chang just clicked his tongue at them and they went like, That's adorable, actually. But we still got caught in the wave, which is not good. Let's keep going. He drifted with the ebb and flow of the ocean for a long time. HuaLian finally opened his eyes. While he didn't sit up, he could feel beneath him that he had arrived on land. And as he lay there, regaining his strength, he lifted an arm and saw that his hand had become wrinkled from the prolonged soak. He felt something hard under his waist, and when he tilted his head to look, he realized that the object was Hua-Chang's arm. Hua-Chang was lying right next to him. By the look of things, he had never once let go. Oh, I love them. Surprisingly, even though HuaLian had woken up, Hua-Chang had not. His eyes were tightly shut. HuaLian quickly sat up and nudged him gently. Sandang? Hua-Chang didn't respond. HuaLian nudged him again while surveying their surroundings. They were on land, but it was a densely forested island with no signs of civilization in sight. No docks, no people at all. It seemed like an isolated island, not the mainland. The most surprising thing of all was that it was already daylight. They must have floated all night. Where had they ended up? Even after repeated nudging, Hua-Chang was still deep asleep and hadn't moved an inch. Okay, what is going on, Hua-Chang? What is going on? Are you pretending? Wake up! I can't believe, by the way, that we have a Castaway Island arc, because you know, a lot of TV shows will have like the character stranded on a remote island, and this is it. We have a remote island arc. Wake up, Hua-Chang. Our date with Gaga is prolonged now. Ghosts couldn't drown, so HuaLian trusted that Hua-Chang had not done so, but there was no guarantee that he hadn't been secretly wounded by something else, such as those barbed, poisonous bonefish. HuaLian patted Hua-Chang down to check for wounds, feeling up his chest, his arms, and all the way down his legs. Okay. Okay, HuaLian, okay. But other than coming to the conclusion that Hua-Chang had a truly fine... But other than coming to the conclusion that Hua-Chang had a truly fine body, he made no notable finds. Oh my god. I think we made some great finds, actually. That is a very notable find, HuaLian. Great conclusions. HuaLian blanked for a bit, then began to panic a little. Sandang, don't joke around, he mumbled. No response. Yeah, if I was Hua-Chang after all the joking around that I'd been doing, I would not be joking around after this. Something's wrong, oh my lord. In a moment of panic, HuaLian pressed his head against Hua-Chang's chest to search for a heartbeat before he remembered that ghosts had no such thing. To his surprise, he actually heard a steady thump. Taken aback, a thought came to him. Hua-Chang shouldn't be able to drown in his true form, but he was presently in the form of a 17 or 18-year-old human youth. So did the same rules apply? Yeah, but wouldn't he if he knew he was going to drown, he would have changed back to his original form. Come on. Although he still didn't think that HuaLian was the sort to overlook such things, there was really no other option at hand. He couldn't be roused even after HuaLian pressed his chest a number of times. After a brief moment of hesitation, HuaLian slowly reached out and cupped HuaLian's face with gentle hands. He was excessively good-looking. Great observations. We're making great observations. With his eyes closed, his sharp features softened into something gentler. He held HuaLian like this. He gazed at him and thought about what he was about to do next. It made it extremely difficult for HuaLian to calm his heart. Thought about what he... Oh no. He debated for a long time, then looked around. There was no one there. He looked back at HuaLian, still unconscious. In the end, he made up his mind. Gritting his teeth, he whispered a simple phrase. I apologize in advance. His voice was practically shaking as he said it. He clapped his hands together in a silent prayer and then bent down. With his eyes shut tight, he pressed his lips against HuaLian's. HuaLian's eyes snapped open. Oh my fucking god. This is the second-hand embarrassment coming off of me right now. And that was the end of the chapter. Oh, you dumb-dumbs. You guys are so dumb. What is going on here? Oh, my immediately thought just now is that the thumb was HuaLian's heart doing the thing it does. Because we've heard that thumb before. I don't remember if we did hear it in the books, but we certainly did see it in the donghua when HuaLian took his hand when they were in the Green Ghost Cave. And yeah, I think HuaLian's hand was kind of thumping because your head was lying on his chest, HuaLian. I think he was really like keeping his eyes closed. That's the vibe I'm getting right now, because the moment that happened, his eyes just widened. I can't believe you, HuaLian. You're literally here saying a ghost doesn't need CPR, but I'm going to CPR him after all. Like, what is the logic here? What is the... Yeah, no, my theory is that HuaLian was, you know, conscious. He was just, you know, maybe a little bit embarrassed that it came to this, but also, you know, I think he's enjoying the fact that his god is lying on his chest. The love of his life is just like, you know, touching him all over. I don't know about enjoying. Maybe he was trying to restrain himself. What a way to end that chapter, by the way. What is going on? A lot of things are going on. HuaLian, seriously. I don't know, maybe HuaLian has a perfectly fine explanation for why he suddenly, you know, his eyes just shot up the moment HuaLian put his lips on his in a not exactly kiss, but because the attention was apparently CPR. Like, I don't think HuaLian saw this coming. Whatever he was doing there, getting roped by his highness. Like, he was just lying there. His eyes were shut. He didn't know that HuaLian would try to literally blow the life back into him. But you know what? Honestly, I think he succeeded. 10 out of 10 CPR experience. HuaLian literally put the life back in HuaLian. Oh my god, this is so dumb. I love it. There were a lot of other things happening in this chapter as well, but it got kind of sidelined with the with the two last pages. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. I love HuaLian being competent, rushing around with these bone dragons, I suppose, and showing us why he is indeed the martial god they should have called for this job. But they're lucky he volunteered. That was good fun and a good reminder for all of us, and also just him protecting HuaLian, and then realizing that, well, HuaLian could probably have protected himself. In fact, he probably did not need me to do this. But HuaLian, have you considered how HuaLian must be feeling? Having the love of his life, his god, the crown prince, protecting him like that, like, again. I think HuaLian was having the time of his life, honestly. This date is going beyond all expectations. And now we are in a island castaway arc. It's great. We're doing great. We're doing great, guys. Yeah, the HuaLian plot just went like, whoop, and it's probably going to keep going, whoop, for a while longer. Now, what about the rest of this? So we have drifted into Blackwater's lair, and it is not unexpected that we are here, nor is it unexpected that we are not being let go of. I definitely think that this was part of the grand plan, and the grand plan has always been to get Sherwood to come back down from the heavens, and now to have him in Scholar Hurst's grasp. I keep going back there. No confirmation yet, but it is so close to confirmed. Come on. It's gotta be. It's gonna be me for like the rest of the read. When are we gonna get confirmation that Scholar Schwen is Blackwater sinking ships? Blackwater Demon Schwen. I mean, come on. I've said this 5 times already this read, probably more, you must be tired of it. But it's really painful for me to be in this situation where I know it's gonna happen and it still hasn't happened, so I'm just like frustrated. Very frustrated. So now we are separated from the others, which means that some plot could be happening and then we're gonna reunite and we're gonna learn about something new that is going on. But before that, some HuaLian shenanigans. Let's see how much time we have before we are reunited with the others. Because yes, these chapters are so short. They're painfully short, actually. We barely have the chance to get stuff going before we're done, so we have to keep going. We're gonna keep going. Like, we've only read like 40 pages. That is nothing. And so, chapter 63. Let's go. Close the casket, coffin boat enters the ghost sea. A coffin boat? Okay. So a boat made of coffin wood, or even like a boat made for transporting dead people? That's going to be our ticket to actually navigating around here, getting around. So yeah, that sounds like a good tool to have. All right, HuaLian, let's go. Show me what you got. However, since HuaLian was feeling both overly nervous and overly guilty, his eyes were shut tight, and he remained completely unaware that Hua-Chang has just said, oh my god. Yeah, HuaLian, you're doing it again. The last time they had exchanged air, it was Hua-Chang who initiated it. He was domineering and the kiss was deep. Oh my gosh, we're calling it a kiss. We're calling it a kiss. Oh my god. HuaLian didn't dare recall the event after the fact, only remembering that his lips had been swollen and numb. This time, he was taking the lead, and he was very cautious. He placed his lips very softly upon Hua-Chang's, as if he was afraid he'd accidentally wake him if he used too much form. But in retrospect, it wasn't waking Hua-Chang his exact goal. If his kiss was too light and air leaked out between their lips, that wouldn't just be all for naught. HuaLian kept his eyes closed and silently rattled off excerpts from Dao De Jing as he pulled away to take a breath, then pressed his lips against Hua-Chang's once more. Well, Hua-Chang he's completely aware of this. He opened his eyes. Oh my gosh, this poor man. Like, I forgive him for not interrupting. He is in shock. This time, the kiss was much deeper. HuaLian fully captured Hua-Chang's thin, cool lips and gently blew in air. His eyes were closed through the whole process, not daring to look. After delivering 5 or 6 breaths, he thought he should push down on Hua-Chang's chest a few times, but the moment he opened his eyes, he found himself staring squarely into Hua-Chang's own eyes. Yeah, we knew this was coming. We knew this. But the moment he opened his eyes, he found himself staring squarely into Hua-Chang's own widened eyes. Success, HuaLian! You did it! And we get art. This is so pretty. I love this art. Like, you have Hua-Chang. He's just lying there. Like, looking up like this. He's so stunned. He looks so amazed. I can't believe this. Well, that's gonna keep him going for another 800 years. Oh my gosh, is that a double ellipse? That's one for Hua-Chang and one for HuaLian then, I guess. And HuaLian looks he's so worried. Oh my gosh. This is peak HuaLian. They keep getting in these situations where they have a sort of, like, this isn't even forced proximity. HuaLian did not have to do this. But he decided on doing it because, I don't know, he fooled himself into thinking that a supreme ghost would die from a little water. That's what I'm reading from this. He fooled himself. HuaLian's hand still cupped Hua-Chang's cheeks, and their mouths had only just parted. Soft, gentle numbness still remained on their lips. It was like the two had turned into stone statues, as if they would shatter with an errant breeze. HuaLian's petrification was expected, but Hua-Chang, who always stayed carefree when faced with all manners of things, was equally stunned. HuaLian didn't know how he managed not to drop dead on the spot from all the blood rushing through his head. It took him a good moment to say, "Sunlong, you're awake." Hua-Chang didn't speak. Oh my gosh, I am just now noticing the bruising on their lips and also the blush on HuaLian's cheeks. I can't believe this happened. HuaLian dropped his hands from Hua-Chang's cheeks at once and leapt meters back. No. It's not what you think. I just wanted to what? Deliver air? Did ghosts need air? If he said that out loud, even HuaLian himself wouldn't believe it. HuaLian was stumped. Hua-Chang quickly pushed himself up and extended a hand toward him, looking as though he was also forcing himself to keep steady. Your Highness, you just calm down first. Your Highness! Your Highness! This is how we know. I'm gonna interpret this is how we know that Hua-Chang was probably awake. He was probably awake when that happened, and he is saying, Your Highness, because he knows he's crossed the line. Hua-Chang reverts to Your Highness whenever he thinks he's crossed the line, whenever he thinks that he's done something wrong. He did it after the underwater kiss. He did it when his identity was revealed to HuaLian. It's fantastic. This is our indicator. Your Highness. Oh, HuaLian clutched his head. He was a mess from head to toe. Finally, he put his hands together as if in prayer and gave Hua-Chang a deep, abrupt bow. I'm sorry. He's panicking. This is gay panic. This is literary masterpiece. Fantastic. Having shouted his apologies, he turned around and bolted, fleeing the scene. Hua-Chang finally snapped out of it and scrambled to his feet to chase after him, shouting as he did, Your Highness! Oh my gosh, this is peak comedy. This is just comedy now. HuaLian covered his ears and screamed his penitence as he ran. I'm sorry! Oh my gosh, just die. If I can't die, just dig a hole somewhere and pretend to be dead. Oh no! Oh my gosh, this misunderstanding is killing me. By which I mean, like HuaLian knows that Hua-Chang is pining for someone, and now he's like, well, what I just did can only be interpreted as me willfully wanting to put my lips on his. Oh gosh, this is insane. I love this. His mad dash carried him into the depths of the forest. As he ran, something resembling a sharp arrow came flying at him. Oh no. We're not ready to be interrupted. We have to have a talk. HuaLian needs to have a talk, guys. HuaLian might have been rattled to the core, but his skill did not suffer for it. With a sweep of his hand, he caught the bone spur. He came to an abrupt stop and looked to where the attack had come from, but there was nothing there, only rustling shrubs. With danger lurking in the bushes, he calmed at once and whirled around to hurry back. Sunlong! Hua-Chang had been trailing close behind, and HuaLian's sudden change of direction almost sent him right into his arms. Yeah, I love this sort of shit. It's so silly, but I love it so much. HuaLian grabbed Hua-Chang's hand and dashed out of the woods. Run! There's something in the forest! Hua-Chang had at first been chasing after him, and he was now being dragged back where they came. Once they made it back to the beach, HuaLian let out a breath of relief. We weren't followed. Thank goodness. There are some little things on this island, but don't worry, they won't follow us here, Hua-Chang commented. Hearing this, HuaLian suddenly realized, how could Hua-Chang possibly be afraid of those things? He looked down and found that he was still clutching his companion's hand. Another for the tally of HuaLian trying to protect HuaChang from things that probably would not harm him. I absolutely adore this. This is the dynamic we love. HuaLian would put his cloak over a puddle of crimson rain for HuaChang. And you know, his coat is white. It's gonna stain. It's fine. He's gonna do it for HuaChang. He wants to do all these things, these services for HuaChang. Protecting him, helping him out with his clothes, his collars. This is, HuaLian, you're so deep. You're so deep. You don't even know it yet, but you're so deep. He looked down and found that he was still clutching his companion's hand. HuaLian froze once more, then hurriedly let go and jumped away. Now that there was some distance between them, they fell silent for a moment. Then HuaChang sighed and tugged at his collar. Thank goodness Gaga rescued me earlier. Human bodies really are quite inconvenient. I end up choking down mouthfuls of salty water just from taking a dip in the sea. Disgusting. HuaLian wasn't stupid, and nor am I. He knew HuaChang was giving him an easy way out, but he went along with it, of course. It's nothing, don't worry about it, he mumbled, vaguely, head bowed. After a pause, HuaChang added, But Gaga didn't do it correctly. Flustered, HuaLian asked awkwardly. Did I not? I thought I only needed to blow in some air. Yeah, that's not the correct method, HuaChang replied. Don't do this to anyone else in the future, otherwise... Okay, I've caught on. I thought for a second there he was going to flirt his way into a more flirtatious situation again, the fucking Schrödinger's flirting. But he's actually just being like, Gaga, do not ever CPR anyone else again. Because he can't stand it. The possessiveness tag came back. And I love that it's for both of them. They're both like this. They're both absolutely stupid. They're such idiots. I love it. Idiots in love. That's also a tag. Otherwise, not only wouldn't he save a life, but he might just end a life. HuaChang had spoken so seriously that HuaLian felt rather ashamed. Oh my god. Oh my gosh, and HuaLian, you're so gullible. He just thinks that he was really bad at it. Well, actually, good thing he'd never tried doing this before, or else he really would have committed a sin. I won't, he hurriedly swore. HuaChang nodded, then grinned. Although HuaLian really wanted to ask HuaChang for instructions on how it should be done, he dared not dwell any longer on the subject and made a mental note of it instead. He looked around. I'm sure he would have given you a lesson, HuaLian, I'm sure he would. Is this island really deserted? No trace of humans at all? Of course, HuaChang replied. This is Blackwater Island, at the heart of the Blackwater Demon Lair. He stated that with complete confidence, Crimson Rain sought flower and ship sinking in Blackwater. The two supremes seemed to know each other. Yes, they did. Someone, have you been here before? HuaLian asked. HuaChang shook his head. Never, but I know of this island. HuaLian knitted his brows. I wonder why Lord Windmaster and the others drifted. Perhaps they're here as well. Yeah, that's what I'd be guessing too. This was the Blackwater Demon Lair, located in the South Sea. It was someone else's territory. Ming's main domain was in the north, Earthmaster wasn't a martial god, and there was no need to elaborate on the Windmaster's condition. If anything happened and they incurred the ire of Blackwater Demon Xuan, the only one who could fight back was the Watermaster. And there was no knowing when Sherwood's heavenly tribulation would hit. The current situation wasn't looking good. Sandang, does Blackwater Demon Xuan have a temper? HuaLian asked. What would he do if heavenly officials accidentally intruded on his domain and entered his home? Hard to say, HuaChang said. But Gaga has surely heard the saying, Crimson rules the land, Black masters the waters. Even I have to watch my step in the Blackwater Demon Lair. This wasn't simply because it was the heart of Blackwater's domain, but also because they were both supremes. It was best for HuaChang to give his fellow Ghost Kings some face so they could remain cordial. Okay. Some Ghost King social niceties, I suppose. Still doesn't answer my question. HuaChang, who would win? You or Blackwater? Let me know. Then we'd best leave as quickly as possible, HuaLian said. Though they didn't re-enter the forest, they did the circuit of the island's edge. HuaLian called out a few times, but he didn't hear any response from the Windmaster or anyone else. They probably didn't drift here, HuaLian surmised. The two returned to the beach. The surface of the water was still heavy with gloom. HuaLian picked up a piece of wood and threw it far into the distance. The wood should have floated, yet it instantly sank upon impact with the water. HuaLian looked back at the dense forest. It seems like it'd be useless to build a boat. The teleportation array won't work here either. How are we going to leave the island? Who says it would be useless? HuaLian said. But only coffin wood that's housed the deceased can float in the Blackwater Demon lair. He trailed off when he realized it. HuaLian? As our corpse? Coffin wood. There were trees everywhere. And there was a deceased person right in before his eyes. Sure enough, HuaLian smiled. Won't it work fine once I settle inside? Although he smiled, HuaLian's heart was squeezed strangely by the statement. What do you mean? What do you mean? Is it the imagining of HuaLian in a coffin? HuaLian like dead? Because, yeah, HuaLian has reacted to that before, with the Reverend of Empty Words, the image of HuaLian dead. Yeah, not great. HuaLian flattened his palm, and the scimitar erming appeared in his hand. Having committed to the endeavor, they went straight to work collecting materials. They didn't venture deep into the woods, so they didn't encounter anything hiding in the shadows. It took no time at all for them to chop down a number of trees. A whole day of labor went by in the blink of an eye, and the sky grew dimmer overhead. The two divided the work, but competed with each other to scoop up more tasks. So, their efficiency was amazingly high. By evening, the coffin was essentially complete. HuaLian had only eaten half a steam bun during this entire journey and was bitterly starving. But the sooner the coffin was made, the sooner they could leave. So he only excused himself to catch some fish after the coffin had taken basic shape. Yet how could there be fish within the waters of the Blackwater Demon lair? Returning empty-handed, HuaLian instead went to the edge of the forest and picked some wild fruits from the safer areas. But to his surprise, by the time he got back, HuaLian had already started a small campfire. He sat by the fire, with one hand supporting his cheek and the other holding a stick with a wild hare forked on it, which he was roasting over the fire. I love a good provider. Thank you, HuaLian. He'd already cleaned the wild hare, and it was roasted perfectly, dripping with juice, crisp and golden. The smell fragrant and incredibly alluring. Once he noticed HuaLian, HuaLian smiled and passed the stick over. HuaLian traded him some wild fruit for it. These are all edible. Both were still wet and dripping. They were soaked in seawater and sweat. However, there was a tacit understanding between them, and neither even suggested stripping out of their clothes to dry them. Yeah, what exactly is this tacit understanding, boys? The meat of the wild hare was crispy on the outside, but tender on the inside. HuaLian could feel the lingering heat from the fire in his teeth as he took a tentative bite, but quickly found that he couldn't stop eating. He savored the flavor that lingered on his lips. Even as he stuffed himself, HuaLian conscientiously divided the meat in half and gave HuaLian his 2 portion. Sundong has such amazing skills, he sighed in awe. HuaLian laughed. Really? I thank Gaga for the compliment. It's true, HuaLian said. I've never met anyone better than you at anything, whether it's carpentry or cooking. That noble, gracious, special someone really lucked out. Oh my god, HuaLian! You're killing me here. You're killing me here. Oh my god. The jealousy tag is back in full force. I love this. That noble, gracious, special someone really lucked out. Okay, calm. As he said that, he acted like he was very focused on eating. Though there wasn't any response from HuaLian, it was a while before HuaLian replied quietly that I got to meet that person. I'm the one who lucked out. Ellipsa reply. HuaLian didn't know what to say and tried to focus even harder on eating. Only after several minutes did he register that HuaLian was calling him. Gaga. Oh my gosh, double gagas. I love this. Dazed, HuaLian replied. Huh? HuaLian passed him a handkerchief, and HuaLian suddenly realized he'd been chomping too hard on the meat. His mouth and chin were covered in grease, and he looked extremely silly. He felt quite embarrassed as he took the handkerchief to wipe himself clean. HuaLian passed him the other half of the roast hare as well. Cooker must be starving. Don't rush yourself. HuaLian took it. Though he was a little dismayed, he still broached the subject in the end. Yes, do the breaching, let's do it. Sunlang, just what kind of person is your special someone? He asked. Why haven't you won them over yet? I love it. This is so exciting, I'm genuinely shaking. He genuinely believed that if HuaLian wanted someone, there was no one on earth who could resist his advances. Yeah, HuaLian, you felt that? You felt that? Yeah? You don't say? But that day, HuaLian had said he hadn't won them over yet. HuaLian couldn't help but feel rather glum, and an odd feeling grew toward this individual the Ghost King fancied. What kind of odd feeling? What kind of odd feeling, HuaLian? It was probably because he thought the other party lacked taste. Or perhaps he thought they were taking HuaLian for granted. I love this. This petty jealousy. I've been waiting for this. I'm so happy that this is finally showing up. And it is showing up because HuaLian might not have realized it yet or might not have admitted it out loud just yet, but it's showing up because my dude, you like him. Perhaps more than like him. Like, I think, we're actually falling pretty fast here. And we're slowly getting there. And I absolutely love this. This petty jealousy towards himself. Absolutely fantastic. These here, they're my tropes. It's all right if Gaga finds it funny, HuaLian replied. But truth is, I'm afraid. And that's the truth. Oh, that feels so good. This feels so good. Whether it was out of a sense of injustice or fear that HuaLian was putting himself down, HuaLian responded in a serious tone. What's there to be afraid of? You're the supreme ghost king, Crimson Rains of Flower. HuaLian laughed out loud. What a shitty ghost king. If I really was that formidable, I wouldn't have been so powerless when people strung me up and beat me centuries ago. Oh my gosh, he's laughing about this. And this is him divulging that information to HuaLian. HuaLian is learning this. You shouldn't say it like that, HuaLian said. Everyone has to go through trials to grow up. But even as he said that, he realized that he'd never experienced humiliation of that sort before his first ascension. He cleared his throat lightly. That person saw me at my worst, HuaLian said. I love this so much. We're confessing so much. We're letting each other in on our personal backstories. Oh my god. This is so exciting. This is extremely exciting to me. I've been waiting for this ever since the end of book 1, where we almost got, where we got HuaLian realizing that HuaLian might be from Shanle. And oh my god, this is... I love them so much. This is so much fun. I'm having a blast. I don't know if you can tell. Okay. Calm down. Then I'm very envious of that, HuaLian replied. Hearing him say so, HuaLian gazed over. HuaLian stopped eating and said gently, But I can sort of understand your feelings. After a pause, he continued. There was a period in my own life that wasn't easy. Back then, I'd always think about how wonderful it would be if someone could still love me for who I was, even if they saw me rolling in the dirt and couldn't get up. Though I don't know if there's anyone out there like that, and I'm scared of showing that part of myself too. This is emotional, actually. I'm tearing up a little bit. But if it's someone Sunlang yearns for, I think that even if they saw you at your worst, they wouldn't say something like, oh, you're not so great after all. His face grew solemn. To me, the one basking in infinite glory is you. The one fallen from grace is also you. What matters is you, not the state of you. Oh my gosh, this is so good. What a line. What matters is you, not the state of you. I admire Sanlang very much. I want to understand your everything. So I'm very envious that someone has already met that version of you so early on. That kind of affinity can only come by chance. It can't be begged for. And whether that bond should live on is 3 parts fate and 7 parts courage. The campfire cackled, and the two remained silent for a good while. HuaLian softly cleared his throat, and he rubbed his forehead. Have I said too much? How embarrassing. No, what you said was good. Very right, HuaChang replied. HuaLian let out a breath of relief and quickly returned to eating the meat. It's not just that. There are many other reasons, HuaChang added. Despite HuaChang's assurance, HuaLian felt he'd said far too much and wanted to stop discussing the subject immediately. He couldn't understand it. Why did he ramble on like that? And why did he encourage HuaChang to bravely pursue his beloved? It wasn't like he was the heavenly official who presided over marriage. He could only give a mumble as a reply. After his speech, the air between the two seemed rather delicate, and they quickly finished eating to continue their labor. Soon the coffin was officially complete. What a scene. What a scene. I was teary-eyed there for a moment. That was good. That was amazing. Like, I keep joking around that HuaLian was going up, but it really was. That was a new peak for us, and that was amazing. Like, not only are they having a conversation where they're like admitting certain things to each other, like they're letting each other in on new information, but though HuaLian has imagined up a third party here, the person that HuaChang is in love with, he also, in his rambling here, does something amazing. He tells Sanlang how much he admires him. He says he's envious that someone already met that version of HuaChang, which it's you, HuaLian, it's you. And he admits one of his own fears, the having been seen at his lowest, and having had that thought of wanting to be loved even back then when he was at his lowest. That was super emotional to me, actually, but oh my gosh. This admittance of feeling, these words, this sentence, this line, what matters is you, not the state of you. I admire you so much. Oh my god, I can't. And HuaChang is like, there are other reasons, because he was ready to keep this conversation going. He sees this for what it is, and that is HuaLian telling him that he admires him, that he thinks he's an amazing person. He sees this as, oh my lord, I might have a chance. Come on. Like, this must be so encouraging. This must feel so encouraging to him. It's absolutely amazing. This vulnerability is absolutely insane. And I think this, while they are in a bit of a weird sort of situation with all of this, I think having been this vulnerable with each other has brought them closer together. And that's where we're going from now. I'm seeing this in the near future, and I feel like I understand how we're gonna get there now. It's so good. It's so good. So, coffin is complete. HuaChang pushed the newly constructed coffin into the water and hopped in it to sit inside. Although it was a long, heavy chunk of wood, it really did float, not sink. They didn't make the coffin particularly wide, and as HuaLian lifted his robes to step in, he felt like there wasn't enough space to sit. Muffled oars and thunder boomed above them. The steely clouds rolled. Violet flashes of lightning streaked from the skies, and their explosive noise startled the ears. Thin threads of rain began to fall, and the downpour only grew heavier by the moment. It seemed a storm was approaching. Yeah, okay, so as long as HuaChang lies down in this coffin, they can float. But that is going to put them at a disadvantage in that HuaLian is the only one who can react to things when he's, up there. Because if HuaChang gets up, they're going to sink down again. And now we have rain happening and the storm happening. So let's see how we're going to handle this. Fortunately, the two didn't slack off while building and had crafted a cover for the coffin as well. Otherwise, it wouldn't have taken long for it to flood with rainwater and sink into the depths. The two met eyes, and HuaLian softly mumbled, "Sorry." HuaLian didn't say anything more and lay down inside the coffin. HuaLian climbed in fully and pulled the cover over them. As if a candle had been blown out, they sank into darkness. Okay, so we're in the coffin now and just waiting for wherever they're gonna drift off to. So we're leaving Blackwater's main lair already with no real indication of what this place is. We must be coming back to it, right? Just gonna make a note of this place. Blackwater Lair, and then Blackwater Island at the heart of it. The coffin floated into open water and drifted errantly for a while. Pouring rain beat down on the cover, and the two spoke not a word inside. Their bodies were pressed hard against one another, but it couldn't be helped. They were squished into such a narrow space. The waves pushed and pulled them, flipped and flopped them. We're in forced proximity again, oh my lord. Why didn't I see that coming the moment they stepped into the fucking coffin? It's forced proximity again. I need to wake up. I need to analyze better. HuaLian used one hand to push against the edge of the coffin to steady himself, trying his best to make more room. His head knocked lightly against the wood with the motion, and HuaLian reached out to cradle the back of his head with one hand, shielding it from further bumps. He rested the other hand on his back and pressed him to his chest. To his chest? Is this position what I'm imagining right now? HuaLian didn't even dare to breathe harshly. Sunlong, how about we switch it up? Switch what? HuaLian asked. You on top and me on the bottom. Okay, I'm not sure if this translates well, but that's such an innuendo in English. Top, bottom, isn't it all the same? HuaLian asked. I can't believe this is happening. HuaLian was afraid he was too heavy. Our journey will take at least a day. Your body is only 17 or 18 right now, isn't it? And I'm a martial god. I'm very heavy. Before he could finish his sentence, he was forced to exclaim, Sunlong, don't just suddenly turn big. Oh my god. Did I just read that? So HuaLian switched forms, but the words coming out here is... This is the dice scene all over again. Although it was hard to see in the dark, they were pressed together so tightly that HuaLian could feel HuaLian's body transform. While the change was minute, he still sensed it and assumed HuaLian had probably transformed back to his true form. Sure enough, when HuaLian spoke again, his laugh was deeper, truly his real voice. HuaLian lay helplessly on his chest, but after the change, the nebulous awkwardness lightened a bit. Hoping to shift his body and change the position, he raised his legs slightly, but HuaLian abruptly stopped laughing. Yeah, don't move, HuaLian, this is not the time. Don't move, he said grimly. We're of the same mind, HuaLian. HuaLian froze. There was a loud noise, and the coffin sank violently. HuaLian was bewildered. What's going on? Soon after, there was another roaring sound, and the two were forcibly tossed around inside the coffin. It seemed their vessel had been rolled over. Thank goodness there weren't any leaks, but that couldn't be guaranteed if they were attacked again. HuaLian pressed him down. Something's got its eye on this coffin boat. As soon as he spoke, the two felt a familiar weightlessness, and their positions abruptly changed from lying to upright. The coffin boat rose up, then swiftly plunged, flipping over once again. Oh guys, you have to get out of here. HuaLian's arms were locked in a vice grip around HuaLian's waist, with one hand still shielding his head. Hold on tight to me, he shouted. If they were in an open space, HuaLian could manage, even if the spinning were 3 times as violent. The problem was they were trapped inside a narrow, tight space. They couldn't stretch out their limbs, and they had no idea what was happening outside. All he could do was tense in alert while anxiety roiled within. What if the coffin breaks? HuaLian wondered. Don't worry, even if it breaks, I'm here. You won't sink, HuaLian reassured. They were firmly pressed against each other, and HuaLian nearly brushed his lips against his hair when he spoke. HuaLian could even feel the slight tremble of his Adam's apple. It made his mind start to wander, but his attention was stolen again by another wave of violent rolling. The boat was like a toy being jostled about by a toddler, and it shook and swam ceaselessly. With no other choice, HuaLian embraced HuaChang tightly with one hand, bracing the other on the coffin wall. Through the chaos, the two were hoisted and dropped, flipped and flopped into who knows how many different positions. Oh my god. It's like, it's supposed to be a bit like, forced physical proximity here, but at the same time, it just sounds really painful. It's very sweet that HuaChang is holding onto him though and protecting his head so that he won't get hurt. Like, HuaChang is the only one getting bruised and battered by this. Even though HuaChang had the appearance of a young man, only after this tumble did HuaLian realize that HuaChang was solid and hard from top to bottom. HuaLian was seeing stars from the torment. When the shaking finally ceased for a moment, he found that HuaChang was now on top of him. He pressed down heavily and crushed the breath out of him. HuaLian managed to raise his hand and grabbed onto the strong forearm beside his body that HuaChang was using to prop himself up. His head spun, and he groaned softly. "Is it over yet?" For some reason, HuaChang didn't respond. Before HuaLian finished a thought, his breathing hitched. He had very suddenly noticed that a certain part of his body had experienced a somewhat unusual shift. Are we going there? Is that where we're going? Like, for real? In that split second, HuaLian felt more incredulous than if he'd seen an iron tree bloom, which is an idiom that means a very rare occurrence that makes sense, or something extremely difficult to achieve. And at least his mind wouldn't be so blank in such a scenario. Mortifying shame and embarrassment battered him more violently than the tempest battering the coffin outside. HuaLian closed his knees in panic, but that didn't appear to be the right move. It seemed he'd touched something he shouldn't have, and it elicited a brusque grunt from HuaChang. Is that what we're at? Is that serious? Is this where we're at? We're moving up from that T rating, guys. Don't move. The grunt was deep and sharp, and HuaLian hurriedly flattened his legs again. If he didn't close his knees, he was scared HuaChang might notice his body's reaction, in which case he might as well just smash his head against the coffin and die. I can't believe it. We're both of you, actually. I can't... Yeah. At least it's mutual. This is crazy. This is insane. I can't believe this is where we ended up. After that heartfelt conversation, we are now rubbing... Which is, honestly, how I usually want my BLs to go. He could have explained it away as an unavoidable natural reaction, but there was already that awkward incident on the island. He could say it was unintentional once or twice, but how could he possibly explain himself after the third or fourth time? Trapped in such a dire situation, HuaLian blurted, "No, Sanlang, don't touch me." There was a brief silence, then HuaChang said gravely, "Very well, let's break out of here." It was as if he had been absolved. HuaLian cried, "Go!" With another vicious attack of weightlessness, the coffin that contained the two was thrust into the air. Just as it was, HuaChang and HuaLian smacked their palms on either side of the coffin in unison, and it shattered instantly. The two broke free and leapt out under the moonlight. HuaLian looked back and saw a giant water dragon dangling the broken pieces of the coffin from its mouth. It let out a roar beneath a pouring rain, baring its sharp teeth as if raging at the empty coffin it had presumed was full of food. The water dragon must have been trashing the coffin boat about with its mouth, snapping it here and twisting it there. The coffin boat had drifted at sea for a while, but the water dragon had dragged it back inland. The two landed on Blackwater Island. We're back here. We did nothing. Except... Well... So HuaLian had a lot of development in this chapter, both emotionally and physically. So the two landed back on Blackwater Island. There were two new figures on the beach, Watermaster Voodoo and General Pei. Oh, okay, so where's Shi Qingxuan and Ming Yi? Where's Shi Qingxuan and Ming Yi? Sherwood's hands were still on the seal, and he faced the storm like he was trying to call the water dragon over. Pei Ming patted his shoulder. Watermaster Shong, just take it easy, will you? This round is over, but who knows when the next will come. Save your energy for now. Turned out, the sudden pouring rain was the accompaniment to Sherwood's heavenly tribulation. Great. The storm was calming down, and Sherwood whirled around with a flick of his sleeve to regard HuaLian and HuaLian. What's with you two? He questioned. Ellipse replied. Should I count this for HuaLian? Yeah, we're going to count it for HuaLian because Pei Ming is going to talk to HuaLian after. So Pei Ming just had to give his input as well. Yeah, Your Highness, why don't you two explain yourselves? What's going on? What were you two doing in there? When the coffin boat exploded, their tight embrace was put on display for all to see. HuaLian blinked. Oh my god. He was about to speak when he abruptly realized that after tumbling around inside the narrow coffin boat, their hair was mussed and their clothes were disheveled. The two of them looked as improper as one could imagine. Is this how the rumors are gonna start spreading? Oh my goodness. HuaLian wiped the rain off his face and found that his cheeks were burning. HuaLian took a step forward to shield him. A moment later, HuaLian softly cleared his throat. Nothing is going on, just the coffin was too small. Sherwood was puzzled. I wasn't talking about that. Pei Ming pointed at all the leftover wood pieces they left behind on the beach. You made a coffin yourselves, right? Why didn't you build a bigger one? That ellipse reply is so deserved. Honestly, yeah, why didn't you? What exactly went through your minds when you were building this boat? The planning was abysmal. The coffin boat was designed by both HuaLian and HuaLian, and it seemed neither of them had considered making it bigger at any time. HuaLian could only laugh awkwardly. You're right. Did my lords only just drift to this island? Yes, Pei Ming replied. Watermaster Shong battled the current of the Blackwater Demon Lair, and we only just made it here. Didn't expect to see a coffin sailing the waters of the Blackwater Demon Lair. What a curious sight. HuaLian could feel himself tense, and he forced a smile. Curious indeed. You, Sherwood turned to HuaLian and narrowed his eyes. On the ship, didn't you say that the only thing that doesn't sink in the Blackwater Demon Lair is wood that has carried the dead? Pei Ming drew his sword. Yeah, he said leisurely. There's wood, but where's the dead? HuaLian smiled too. If you're so concerned with who's dead here, I suggest you go kill yourself. Pei Ming pointed his blade at him. Such arrogance, as expected of Crimson Rainsword Flower. As suspected, he had already guessed. HuaLian burst out laughing, and seeing that a fight was about to start, HuaLian stepped protectively in front of HuaLian. My lords, please calm yourselves. You can be completely assured that Sunlang is on this journey out of generosity alone. Sunlang? Pei Ming wondered. Oh my fucking god, this is so good. I've never heard of Lord Crimson Rainsword Flower ranking among the boys of some house. And generosity? Your Highness, are you sure that's the word to describe his intentions? Yeah, because Pei Ming has been, in the start of Season 2, he was insinuating that, whatever was between HuaLian and HuaLian could be HuaLian, putting a spell on him, deceiving him in some way. And I guess this is him about to learn that maybe he wasn't doing any such deception. And we'll see if he can suss them out just yet. Sherwood had to stand in the spotlight at all times, so he pushed Pei Ming aside. Oh my god. You hate being sidelined? Oh my god, you're such a diva. Are you the one who's been meddling this entire trip? He demanded sharply. What is your intention in luring us here to the Blackwater Demon Lair? Where's Qing? This is someone else's territory. Do you think I want to be here? HuaLian answered. HuaLian was already used to these kinds of situations and changed the subject with practiced ease. Geez, who's given you all this practice? Has the Lord Windmaster not been found yet? Didn't General Pei go looking for him and the Earthmaster? Pei Ming shrugged. I almost fished him up, but one of Watermaster Shong's waves came along and washed him away. Mind your misleading tongue, Pei Shong, Sherwood snapped. If I didn't raise waves and simply allow those things in the water to keep attacking over and over, you wouldn't have been able to find them in the first place. Calm down, HuaLian soothed quickly. Lord Windmaster is with Lord Earthmaster, so there shouldn't be any need to worry. Shawuru humped. Earthmaster? What good is that Earthmaster? Mediocre and unaccomplished. He's not a martial god either, and his spiritual powers aren't as strong as Qingquan's. He trailed off when he seemed to remember that Shi Qingquan no longer possessed any spiritual powers. His face fell, and he grew silent. Every profession has its experts, HuaLian thought. Although MING wasn't a martial god, and his spiritual powers weren't terribly strong, he wasn't as bad as the Watermaster described. Besides, the skills the Earthmaster demonstrated at Banyu Pass weren't bad at all. Even if he wasn't the best, he wasn't the worst either. Don't worry too much yet, Pei Ming assured as well. Lord Earthmaster should be able to take care of things as long as they don't run into Demon Xuan. Hua Chang laughed. Your heavenly tribulation has pursued you all the way to Blackwater Demon Lair. You guys have already made a huge mess of his territory. Do you really think the master of the domain hasn't noticed? Sherwood's face twitched, and he retrieved a golden longevity lock pendant from underneath the collar of his robes. Watermaster Shong, did something happen? Pei Ming asked. The golden longevity lock vibrated in Sherwood's palm. Qingquan is close by, and he's injured. Okay, so they have like the pendant, a longevity lock thing, is for sensing each other, and that was very useful at this moment. HuaLian took a look at the golden pendant. It looked exactly the same as the one Shi Qingquan had been wearing that day, the one he removed to build the protection array and left behind in the end. Is Lord Windmaster still wearing his longevity lock? I remember he removed it before. I picked it up and put it on him again, Sherwood said. The two longevity locks had been forged by the brothers' golden essence. When they were near one another, and one was hurt, the locks would call out to each other. The closer they were, the stronger the resonance. This was a natural attribute of the locks and not a spell, so it was unaffected by the demon lair spiritual field. Sherwood removed the longevity lock pendant from his neck and dangled the chain from his hand. He held the arm out straight and slowly turned in a circle. When he faced a certain direction, the vibrations of the golden lock abruptly grew stronger. It was calling them into the forest, toward the unfathomably deep heart of the lonely island. Looks like Qingquan is here, Sherwood said grimly. With that, he strode into the forest with large strides. Naturally, Pei Ming followed along. HuaLian thought about their present situation. Since Wind and Earth Masters were both on the island and the Windmaster seemed to be injured, finding them should be their priority. They could worry about the rest later. My lords, there are little ghost minions hiding in the forest. Be careful of ambushes. Hua Chang came along as well. HuaLian wanted to grab his hand. But he remembered his disgraceful state in the coffin boat, and his outstretched hand shrank back in spite of himself. In the end, he tugged a corner of Hua Chang's sleeve, not daring to look at his face. Oh my god. You would think you were making out in there. Like, this is so... They're such teenagers. You're 800 years old and you're such teenagers. I absolutely love it. Pei Ming, however, looked back frequently and appeared to be very interested. Your Highness and Crimson Rains of Flower, the two of you sure are stuck together like glue. A ghost king like yourself following us so openly. Aren't you even going to try to avoid suspicion? What is General Pei saying? HuaLian replied easily. Under these circumstances, it's much less suspicious if he comes along. If my lords run into any danger, you may suspect him. How else can he hope to clear his name? He made it to the rank of Supreme, so what difference does it make if he is with us or not? Wouldn't it be easy for him to create a clone? Pei Ming said. The clone dropping again, the clone dropping, and I just realized that, oh my god, rank of Supreme, clone, Blackwater, sinking ships, clones? That could explain a lot. I'm gonna note that behind my ear. We're gonna come back to this, or actually I'm gonna note it down in the book. Supreme, clones. Apparently easy to make if you're a Supreme. He had just spoken when a sharp sound tore through the air. Pei Ming raised his hand and caught an arrow. So there is something. That was close. Watermaster Shang, be careful. Before he could finish, there were more swishing sounds, and several more arrows came flying toward him. Cling, clang. Pei Ming swept his sword and wondered. What the heck? Sherwood laughed out loud. Pei Shang, I think you'd best watch yourself instead. Then he quickened his pace. An ambush of arrows was nothing to be afraid of. It was simply an annoyance. Pei Ming irritably flattened a patch of shrubbery and soon plucked out a few more little minions. You guys got guts. The ghosts were scrawny and sallow-skinned, the lowest of lackeys. They were terrified of the general and cowered in little balls as they hung from his hand, begging for mercy non-stop. They were gatekeepers after all, so attacking intruders was what they had to do. Pei Ming let them go after a few threats. When they ran into more cunning and vicious minions later on, Pei Ming squashed those ghoulies into a ball and dribbled it as they made him. He really is he has such jock energy. The four of them brushed away the branches and pushed their way through bushes, hiking through the dense forest for what seemed like ages. As they walked, the resonant cries of the golden lock in Sherwood's hand grew louder and louder. Finally, they reached a large clearing at the heart of the forest. At the center of it was a lake, and the four walked toward it. Suddenly, Pei Ming spoke up. Crimson Rainsword Flower, if you continue with these pranks, I won't tolerate you much longer. What do you mean? What do you mean? Both HuaLian and HuaLian looked at him, then at each other. Pei Ming frowned. If you want to fight, then challenge me like a man. I'm not like those 33 heavenly officials. I'm not afraid of you. Shoving me around is pointless. HuaLian arched his brows. Gaga, you have to believe me. I've got nothing to do with this. HuaLian intervened. General Pei, he doesn't play meaningless pranks like that. Pei Ming was doubtful. Really? HuaLian grew alarmed. Be careful. Something else on this island might be stirring up trouble. Pei Ming stopped talking. Right then, Sherwood slowed his pace. It's here. The golden longevity lock seemed to cry hardest here, meaning Shurtingxuan was somewhere close. But this area was open with nowhere to hide. There was nothing here besides the lake. Could there be an underground palace? Pei Ming wondered. Sherwood stared at the surface of the water, and HuaLian said, or it could be at the bottom of the lake. But a lake on Blackwater Island shouldn't be entered carelessly, lest one never come up again. The surface of the lake was calm and unrippled. It looked like a giant mirror, reflecting the blanched moon that hung high in the starless, cloudless night sky. The four circled the edge of the lake. HuaLian was still weighing options about how to investigate the lake bottom when a terrified scream ripped through the night air. Sherwood was leading the group, and Pei Ming was bringing up the rear. The three in front looked back to see that the screamer was the little ghost that Pei Ming had captured on the road. Its scrawny, bony body stood in place, but its head was gone, and black blood spurted almost 3 meters from its neck. Its head was flying through the air, screeching. General Pei, why did you kill it so suddenly? HuaLian asked. Pei Ming, however, exclaimed, No! Before he could explain, his body crumpled, and he dropped to one knee. HuaLian laughed. There's no need for such grand apology. Pei Ming's expression was stark bewilderment. Watermaster Shang, watch out! He shouted. Watch out for what, though? Other than the four of them by the lake, there was nothing here. It was as if Pei Ming had been bound by something invisible. Sherwood was rushing over to help when a chilling light flashed in front of him. He dodged just in time, though the attack still managed to draw a trail of blood across one of his cheeks. He wiped it with his hand, and his face changed. HuaLian stood firm in front of HuaLian to shield him. An invisibility spell? Pei Ming finally broke free from his formless constraints. Gather around, don't split up! He shouted. But Sherwood didn't care. The moment he heard the longevity lock start crying again, he charged around the lake, frantically calling out for his brother. Qingxuan! Qingxuan! It was mayhem, but amidst the ruckus, HuaLian noticed something quite peculiar. The area along the lakeshore was open and empty, with no notable landmarks to be seen. But the shore reflected on this lake's surface showed a different story. Oh! Like a mirror world. In the reflection, a charcoal black building loomed on the edge of the water. The building was cold and sinister, more like a prison than a place where someone lived. It had no door, only a set of windows set high in the walls and sealed by unforgiving iron bars. A pale white hand reached from between those iron bars, waving desperately like it was begging for help, and that sure changed my no. HuaLian's head shot up, and he looked to the shore opposite him. There was nothing there aside from Schrödinger darting around with the longevity lock. When he looked down again, the reflection clearly showed a sinister iron prison. Schrödinger was right in front of the building, but he couldn't see it. "My lords!" HuaLian blurted out. "I found it! Look!" Just then, his pupils shrank. Something new was reflected within Blackwater Lake. A shadowy figure had appeared soundlessly behind him and HuaLian. And that was the end of chapter 63. Oh my gosh, is that the introduction? Is that gonna be... That's gonna be... Is that him? Is it Blackwater? Has he finally entered the scene? Oh my lord. That's super exciting, but I've read like more than 70 pages today. It's been going on for a while. I feel so exhausted. So I think that this is a good place to end it because well, we are apparently entering into like the lair now. Like we're getting there. And I think that's going to be like a fun thing to think about or listen about and read about for the next session. Because we've finished off really strongly here because we have concluded this session as the HuaLian session. There was so much happened in this session regarding HuaLian's relationship and how they are moving and chugging along because this is not where I thought we'd end up earlier today. Grinding against each other inside a coffin. Yeah, I said it. That was insane. That was it was also a very wet chapter. We were constantly being rained upon or drenched in seawater, and honestly, very uncomfortable. Everyone else is having a great time, huh? And somehow not surprised that Qing ended up getting caught. It seems like he's in this prison sort of area after being left alone with MING because I am still not letting this go. MING, something. Again, I think the whole point of this is to lure out Schrödinger. They want to lure Schrödinger into this place so that Scholar who is just gotta be, it's just gotta be a Blackwater demon Schwen, can confront him. And I think the truth is going to be coming out pretty soon. Like we're getting to the encounter of all encounters. And by that time, we will also probably figure out why MING is here at all. What is his deal? Why is he, in this limbo of helping / not really helping? And I really, really think that he has hands in this. A lot of hands. And, clones, fuck. Supremes can easily make clones. This is gonna be digging into me. First of all, that does mean that HuaLian can make clones, which is can be used for exciting purposes. But it also means that Blackwater can make clones. If Blackwater is HuaLian can make clones. That means he could be in multiple places at the same time. Do things at the same time. I'm trying to see where this kind of fits into the story because MING. No, it's MING is such a distinct character. I have like when we saw the clones in action with Peishaw, right? With Peishaw, the clone that was what's his name again? Arshao? I think that was his name. I can't really remember. But yes, the clone was a very indistinct character. We didn't know anything about them at all. MING has literally been around since the Banyu arc. So the whole identity shenanigans that it doesn't really, I can't make it fit right now. My head is so full with new information. I have to think about this for a bit longer. But other than that, because who else has used clones? Bai Wuxiang. Bai Wuxiang made a clone and made HuaLian chase after it. Remember? And then Function and Mooching chased after it and were very shocked because the clone had the appearance of HuaLian. Like, looking back at that scene right now, I'm like, yeah, that was a clone, right? It's some sort of spell that made it take the face of HuaLian, and if that is possible for a Supreme, no, come on. It's too easy. It's too easy. It can't be. It's a theory, though. It is a theory. I'm not sure if I'm vibing with it. We'll have to wait and see. But shit, come on. Because MING was introduced to the story during the Banyu arc. After the Banyu arc, he had this sort of, in the Banyu arc at the end, he had this sort of like thing with HuaChang, the staring competition. Then, boom, the Fire Dragon spell. MING is captured, apparently, by HuaChang, who is like, yeah, he was my subordinate. He was trying to creep around and spy in Ghost City. And we know that HuaChang has spies in the heavens, but we have really, like, if it's not MING, then we really have no idea who it could be. Oh, that is so that is so infuriating, because I thought it was, or I had this feeling that it must be MING, but now I'm super confused about all that. But anyway, so MING was captured and they needed to go rescue him, and he wouldn't have been let out of there unless they went to rescue him, unless HuaChang gave HuaLian the means to come and get him and, take him back to heaven. He let them go. And then the next time we see MING, he is at the banquet eating all this food, and he doesn't really say anything else, he's just eating the food. And then we see him again once we meet up before this whole arc, at the start of this arc, and I don't know, like there's like layers and layers of things. But HuaChang is like, he knows Blackwater sinking ships. He knows his pets. You have to have like a conversation or two with someone if you know how to talk to their pets. Like, this is. What am I saying? I'm like super nervous to say this because I don't know if I vibe with this, but what if somewhere along this timeline, perhaps, when Earthmaster was captured by HuaChang and then let go of, because that is what happened, he was let go of. What if the fucking shovel, man? Fucking shovel. What if we replaced MING? Just what if we replaced MING with a clone? God, I'd have to go back. I don't want to go back though to verify any of this. I don't have the time for this. I don't have the head for this. Maybe there were some hints. Maybe if you know MING's character really well. They didn't talk a lot in the Banyu arc, so we don't actually know that much about them from back then. But would it even be possible? Couldn't Qing have told in any way that they changed behaviors, They were so close throughout the beginning and end of this whole thing. There's been no indication that Qing has thought of MING as weird. He's been a bit whiny with him because he's not really showing a lot of affection, but I felt like that was kind of to be read as this is how they are. This is just their relationship. It's their banter. It's how they do things. Gosh, this is terribly hard. Because I don't like this theory, but it could make sense. But also, like I said, MING is such a character, he is a very distinct character. So it makes more sense that he is helping out for some reason. I think I like that idea more. He has to help out because of something. Whatever happens at HuaChang's dungeon and whatever has put him in this position where he needs to do these things that he has been doing. That makes way more sense. Like he's fumbling here, trying to right a wrong, and he has wronged. Double wronged. And we're about to find out just how wrong in the next read, I suppose. That was a lot of thinking on a very tired brain. I'm not ready to do any more analysis at this point. I had a blast though. I had such a blast reading these chapters. A lot of things happened. It was super, super exciting at times. And I think what my biggest takeaway from this whole read was definitely just HuaLian and their development. Like I said, emotionally and physically, I suppose. Still can't believe this happened. Still can't believe that this is where we're at. But I see very, very good reasons for why this is coming up. Because with all the confessing and lip touching and hand holding and grinding they've been up to, this is the natural next step, right? Like we're already, like, we're sniffing out base 1 and 2 here, so I'm not surprised anymore. I'm not surprised that this is gonna happen. This feels like the natural next place to go, and I can't wait. I can't wait. This feels like it's a well-deserved conclusion to what we're doing right now. I absolutely love the jealousy HuaLian has of himself. This is noble, gracious, special someone. And I love that little scene so much. That was such a good scene. One of my new absolute favorite lines in there. What matters is not the state of you, but you, or something. I have to find that and write it down because that was really nice. That was really good. And exciting news, guys. Volume 4 by itself. Only halfway through. We're a bit more than halfway through, actually. We're a bit more than halfway through Volume 4. And we have a total of 41 Guggas. It is officially the Gugga book. Ta-da! Yeah, our total Guggas is going crazy over here. This is amazing. Well done, Sanlang. Well done. No more laugh or cries added to our tally so far, even though there were several moments where I thought it was about to come out. And HuaLian has made a total of 15 ellipsis replies now, while others are at a total of 10 for Volume 4. And that was it from me for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to be among the first people who discuss these new chapters with me, make sure that you join my Discord server and also our book club thread, where I will be going shortly to scream about HuaLian. I hope you were there. This has been Amelia, aka Spaced Out Puffin, and I will see you in the next one.